I met a gypsy.
Welcome home, Harry.
Hey.
It's been a while.
It has, dude. It feels like it was years ago. Well, it was years ago, but
Yeah. What number were you the very first time? I think we talk about it every time, but
yeah, no.
it's nostalgia. It's good.
I got a memory of a goldfish, so I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
It was early though, like real early, and ever since then, you've been a Gypsy Tales favourite. Like it'd be your episode's probably one of the most downloaded. So
wow,
yeah, people are happy to have you back.
Crazy.
I always get people saying like, "Get Harry back on, get Harry back on, get Harry back on." But it's like it's been a couple of years, I reckon.
Yeah.
We just did Supercross Companions.
Yep.
So there was those, but an actual Harry ep has been a while in the making, and I feel like it's good timing right now.
Yeah, definitely. We actually talked about it earlier in the year. We were like, we need to do another one. But in saying that, as far as like as far as my career goes, I did absolutely nothing in those 3-4 years since that podcast. Like, I mean, I went to X Games, I did stuff, but I didn't finish any. I actually got my first X Games medal, and
what was that in?
that was in best trick. Last year. DNF both this year because I had
What
that.
trick did you do?
I did a double flip one-handed knack.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was at Slayground Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was gnarly because it's like, it was really hot, 40-degree heat.
Windy.
Yeah, and just the dirt, it was gnarly.
Yeah.
But like there was no aircon out there, and you get there, you're jet lagged, and it was just, it was a lot on, and then to be in like cool enough, like going to World Games and being in it, like it sucked. It rained the whole time, but we weren't in 40-degree heat in a venue with no aircon.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah, you're just like out in the fucking desert.
You could hear yourself think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So COVID happened. I think like you've probably had a gnarly 2 years through COVID because you had like this steady stream of income doing the Nitro tour. Like your whole life is fully geared around traveling, and then you're essentially getting paid to travel, and then just like literally nothing, and you just had to spend like 2 years just figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I feel like knowing you off like away from here, like I feel like you went through a lot of shit and like had to like, it was probably hard, but I'm sure you learned a lot about yourself like in those couple years, you know.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. I think that was probably one of the best things that did happen to me. Going at a high speed, I knew that I always, in the back of my mind, when I got to speed where I was having under 100 days at home a year, touring and living this rock star lifestyle, I knew it wasn't going to last forever, and I knew that I was going to have to learn to slow down again. I just didn't expect it to happen so fast.
Yeah.
And then, like, going from my injuries when I broke my femur and then shoulder reco, and then I tried to make a comeback the following year, and I was just still so, like, worn down from my injuries and not fully healed. And I thought I was, and I thought I could go back to how I used to be. And I got a rude shock of reality, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So it was like I wasted those 2 last good. I felt like I missed out on those 2 last good years. What was left?
Yeah.
And then for COVID to hit, it was like, whoa! There was like, I was just about to get my momentum back.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, but then it really like I will say that I didn't need it and I wanted to go, but I think it really did set me up more of just being more patient, just listening, and how your body, just slowing down so much more. And those years did suck and they were hard, but I did also surrender to them. Like sometimes you can just keep charging and not cop it and just go, I'm going to keep looking for new opportunities in other areas and just keep going, and then get let down harder in the long run.
Yeah.
I did kind of surrender it to it at an earlier stage. It was really hard, and but I think it was the best thing I could have done, and it led me into like a lot more meditation and breath work. And I think it was more the fact of like, you can sit there and sob of all the events that have happened, but it really made me just review and revision and just slow down. And then that opened up a lot more new doors for me. Yeah. Coming out of that. And then also now leading into this high speed. So like let's say, like for me this year, I did a one Nitro Circus tour, Australian tour at the start of the year, and it was like, yeah, sick rockstar lifestyle for like 5 weeks, and yeah, like touring and riding shows and sending gnarly tricks and partying again and doing it all, and it's like, it was just sick and it was fun. And then I was hoping that I was going to get on the USA tour. Like when I was on the Oz tour, they were pumped with my efforts. I'm like, yeah, it's sweet. Like, as long as you guys have me on US tour, I'll be happy, and just like keep me on all the tours. That's all I want.
Yeah.
And then the ticket sales were really bad. There was some problems with the visas that held up, and then they seen that the ticket sales weren't as good as they liked, and I did get dropped from the tour. A lot of other athletes did as well.
Yeah, well, like Sheeny didn't even get over there, did he?
Well, Sheeny did.
Did he?
Sheeny got on, and I think Sheeny was like the only one out of all the Aussies that pretty much got promised a spot. When I say promised, like, yes, you're on. But there was so many of us, like myself, Jay Tui, Jed Milton, Ellie Chu. There was heaps of us that were meant to be on the tour that didn't. And then there's even Americans like Brendan Schmidt and a few others that didn't get on the tour. So it is very limited spots. And then everyone's trying to...
Because it's expensive to have you guys fly over, and then there's like all the visa process that you got to go through. Like, it just adds up, eh? A
lot of extra costs. Yeah, correct. And then they also need to take into evaluation who's going to make it through the whole tour.
Yeah.
Like sometimes to fly in and out riders. It's an interesting topic, but so yeah, I had that tour, and then I find like doing really big gnarly stunts or whatever, I've always been a rider that when you go to an event, if I stay busy all year or doing shows all year, I kind of work better, because then dealing with nerves at big events around all your idols, around all, like, it takes a level of like professionalism, and then you don't just get plopped out of 2 months of being at home and then just put in that lifestyle, and it just all comes back to you. It is muscle memory, same with nerves and everything. So to get plopped into a big moment coming out of nothing, I think that was one of the more challenging things. And then what I learnt from it was like visualization, being current at the event, being present, and not getting nervous around certain people. And it's kind of like a puppy dog, like your dog.
Yeah.
They get to go for a walk. They haven't been for a walk in 2 days.
Yeah, just
and they run and they're pulling on the lead. They're going nuts.
Yeah.
So I see the same. Or if you take your dog for a walk every day, they're calm and they're used to it. And there's a tree, I'll have a sniff, and they're calm. Then, oh look, there's Travis Strano, I'll have a talk to him. Yep, cool. So it's all smooth. And I noticed these patterns, how my dog reacted. I love flipping thoughts and flipping analogies, but with how you take them out on a day-to-day basis. So then I seen those patterns in myself when I got to events, and I'm like, so I need to be the dog that can not get walked for a week and then still be good on my lead. So calm and be present in the interviews and not speed and just rush anyone, and just being present on all the conversations, and going with the speeds, and then it's listening to yourself. It's a relationship you have with yourself. Now, when you get put in front of these big ramps and it's go time and all the muscle memory's not there, it happens the same with all your fear, with your tricks, your stunts, what you're trying to do, and your mind plays every trick it wants to on you. But when you start listening to your thoughts and being aware, you can soak it in, talk to the thoughts, and then every bad thought that came into my head, I had a new method of like, every bad thought or every fear, or everything, it's your friend, it's your free awareness. Like it's a way of being focused, it's a way of tapping into being more focused than
like more in the present kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's like imagine someone saying like, you're driving, and then the driving instructor says, oh, you didn't put your indicator on it. So if there's a fear or an insecurity, that's like the coach, the master saying, hey, there's a part that you need to look out for right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, just keep looking for the answers and using it and flipping it and finding it as fuel. And then I found all that really interesting. But
would you have learned, or like, would you have known that without this 2-year break though? Because I know that like you got into, I know like it was cool when you were hanging out a lot with Alex and Cooper. I feel like that was probably like a a really good push in the right direction of like the meditation stuff. You got super into like breathing and ice bars when you were like around those boys. So I feel like all of those things you're talking about now kind of do come back to that, you know, like that 2 years where you kind of just got forced to chill in a sense.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, all these slower speeds and all these COVID years where it just felt so dull, felt like nothing was ever going to get moving again. That's that's exactly what it taught me. And then, like you said, with Cooper, and so like coming in, like during COVID, I met Cooper Chapman, Alex Hayes, like a few of them boys. It was actually a bit before, but I started really hanging out with them a lot more. And man, we'd go to their house and I'd stay there for a couple nights and we'd just be playing chess and just kind of doing meditation, ice bath. It was so new to me, but like, I hadn't had any friends or peers that had moved on those speeds before. And they were like the cool. They are the coolest guys ever. Like, so it was so cool for me to hang out with people because I've always been like a bit of a go gnarly, like just doing physical all the time and never slowing down reading or anything.
Kind of like in an alpha channel sort of thing.
Yeah, and they made like playing a game of chess and reading was like so cool. And it was so refreshing. And it was also for me, like, oh, I don't have time for that or this. So I was always like that as a younger kid. So it really matured me a lot more and helped me process more and more stuff. And it was just all these gifts that were getting given to me in this downtime. And then it taught me the speeds, and then so when it came into the triple, everything happened really fast. Like all the speeds picked up really fast. But then I met all the promises I made to myself with the meditation, and every time I got like I'd be talking too much, I'd be like, oh, my breathing's out, I'm breathing too quick, I'm getting jutted, I feel like I don't have time to talk to anyone. I just go into a room and I do a 10-minute breathing exercise, like at the event over the weekend.
Sick.
And I'd fully reset. 10 minutes. I got a Wim Hof one. I always share it on my Instagram story. It's just like 30 breaths, and then you do a minute and a half breath hold. And then you let your air out, half a second breath hold, another 30 reps, and then you do that 3 times over. But on those breath holds, you see how long you can hold it for, and in that time, like your hands go tingly, and you get the sickest head spins, natural highs through breath holds, and it's like being, you know, when you wake up on a new day from a sleep, it's like getting plopped back into the room for the day. And it's like, and you walk out and you feel like it's a new day, and you just dipped into the room for 10 minutes. And then,
have you ever met Dean Lucas?
That name sounds really
he does the podcast like once a year. But dude, you and him need to get together. So that pretty much the only time I've done Wim Hof stuff is with him. Like the last time we did the podcast, he made us all lay down on the floor, but right before the show, and did like Wim Hof stuff before the he's super into it. Like when he comes up
powerful,
here,
man.
you guys need to link up.
It is so powerful. It blows my mind how powerful breath work is. It does make sense. But like, man, even like with you and your jiu-jitsu, like your breath is like the master of everything.
Dude, the last time I did like a proper mushroom trip, like a heavy dose of like pretty much where you're just on the bed, basically, like you can't do anything else. I was just laying there, and I've always had ADD, but I've never really I just sort of put it in the back of me fucking mind. But it was like a thing I went through as a kid with like the psychiatrist and all that shit. And then one of the things I noticed because of Anna is like I just always hold my breath.
Yeah, okay.
Like, and I'll be doing something and like folding, and
you're like, why am I angry?
I'm literally holding my breath, and then I'll go. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like all, and it's so much through the day. And so anyway, I did the last time I did these mushrooms, I just all I was breathing, but I was breathing like shit. And I'm going, dude, you actually don't even know how to breathe properly, or like so much of the day you're not actually breathing the way that you should. And it's fucking insane when you really stop to think about breathing properly, breathing consistently, not breathing into your chest and breathing down into your stomach, essentially. Like, it's insanely important. And the average person, and I'm the average person, it's just not something you think about at all, and it's so fucking important. And it's funny. It was like a 4-hour mushroom trip of just thinking about breathing, and I was having all these thoughts of like how fucked up the human body is. That if you don't breathe for like a couple minutes, you're dead.
Yeah,
and it's like that sounds like such a ridiculously simple thought to have, but that's the reality of being fucking human. Like you stop breathing, it's over. You don't breathe properly, you don't live properly.
Yeah. It's a very interesting topic. And you know how people always say like the 1% changes?
Yeah.
So, and surrendering. The formula, I think, is just surrendering to so many things and always being open-minded. But someone telling you how to breathe and do stuff, you're like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't need to listen to this dumb breath work. But if you surrender to it, it's so much more powerful. And it's the speeds, like how they say, however million thoughts you have a day. Your breath work controls those thoughts, and if you're rushing and doing little puppy dog breaths and stuff, you're actually shutting your thoughts out. So like you're shutting and you're closing off those really good endorphins and thoughts. But if you give your brain the perfect amount of oxygen, it keeps your thoughts in process, and then you're actually in control of your thoughts. So it like snowballs massively, and it's when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And until you start performing or you want to get the best out of your performance, you'll never really tap into it.
Yeah.
So this is another thing where I find, imagine the Kevin Hart or The Rock, and they had their answer board and they're like, here's the answers, all my secrets. But I feel like unless you're actually hustling or working, those answers are useless.
Yeah.
So you got to be up to like, you got to keep working on yourself and keep unlocking levels, and then these answers, these formulas really help you. So with the breath, like with all these 1% like changes and being present and being focused, like you do really get crazy high results.
Yeah.
But you gotta be so open-minded and be working on yourself for those answers to even be somewhat like useful, I think.
Oh, dude, I completely agree. And there's been times like I started. There's actually this watch is pretty cool. The Garmin deal. It's got breathing exercises on it.
Sick.
And it was the first time I traveled to, like, since COVID, when I went and I was in Bali, I had to do 7-day quarantine in Jakarta. And I remember getting in the cab, and it was just like fucking stressful. Like I had to land. I went through the thing. They did the COVID test, and you're sitting in line, and you got like this I got this visa that I just paid some random cunt to do. Like, you know, so I'm like, I don't even know if I've got the right fucking visa.
Some random dude to do a visa for you.
Well, like, there's no other way to do it. Like, you know, like there was this dude over there that like was doing visas to get into Jakarta to do the quarantine to then go to Bali. So I was just like fucking stressed, and like all of the physical signs of anxiety were just fucking going off, you know, like just my body's alarm bells were just ringing, like short breathing, like feeling anxious, like crazy, just thoughts going. And then I put the breathing thing on the watch, and I don't know the exact thing, but it's like a 4-second in, 5-second out, 4-second in, whatever it is, and then it sort of times, and then it like vibrates on your wrist when you do each one.
Yep.
And I was physically, I was so fucking worked up that I couldn't actually even do the 4-second in, 5 seconds. Like that's how worked up I was. But you can literally change your body's physiology just by breathing. And like like you said, you go in for 10 minutes, that Wim Hof stuff. Like there's nothing fucking hoodoo guru about it. Like you just do it and it works, and you either do it repeatedly and see the value in it, or like you said, you're not open-minded enough and then you don't do it. Yeah.
Oh, and then the next part is, you know, you said you like how you can't surrender to it because you're so stressed and you're so focused on, I need to get this passport or I'm not going to get out of the country. How can I surrender to this breath work? This is where ice baths kick in.
Yeah.
Because
you have to.
Yeah, because you get in and you're cold, and if you want to rush your breaths, do it. But you're going to get cramps, your hands are going to gas, and then you have to get out at 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So when you get in the ice bath and you commit to the 3 minutes, you have to control your breath and you don't have a choice. and you just have to surrender. So it's not about like getting in the ice bath and, oh, I'm so tough I can do 3 minutes. It's surrendering to your own mind, to everything else you have going on, and you're like, I'm present with this. So throwing yourself in an ice bath on a like day-to-day basis, or when you're not feeling it or not ready, I think it's way beyond of actually getting in an ice bath. It's a discipline of going through, because let's face it, as adults, as family people, whatever it is, you like, some people like dads would wake up, have to do all their kids, their wife. Some guys have wives that don't do anything, or it's the other way around, the wife does it. But anyways, but some, like for an individual, they'll do such big tasks, and then they got to go run a business all day. Phone's going ding, 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 and then then by the end of the day, they might have a hobby that they want to do, and then they go, I don't have time, I'm too stressed. But
I feel like shit.
Yeah, but then it's the skill of shutting everything else off and then being present. And I think doing simple things like how you read a lot, or surrendering to an ice bath, it's more just surrendering to eliminating everything else you have going on, and then surrendering to that task. And I think that process, that transition, is the most powerful thing an individual human will do.
Yeah.
And then, I think it's really focusing on the outcome and why you're doing it, rather than just doing it because that's what that person does. Or Joe Rogan said that ice baths are good, so I'm going to go in there. I heard him say it on a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, your why's wrong.
Yeah.
You got to know why you're doing it, and then everything makes sense. And then understanding it. But yeah, it's an
well, I think that's one of the good things about meditation. So I use Waking Up, and it's one of the things that is repeated throughout that app on almost a daily basis in the daily meditations, is surrender yourself to these 10 minutes. I do 20 sometimes.
Sick. For the 20 minutes is
but
it's
it feels
a lot.
No, it feels the exact same.
Really?
I think so.
Sometimes I do 20 and it'll feel like 3 hours, and other times I'll do it and I'm like, is it done?
Fuck.
Wait,
yeah, well, yeah, that's cool then. That's the surrender. Like when it doesn't feel any different. But yeah, like it's the constant theme is, and I go into when I do it, and I'm like, I'm okay with if I think and my brain's going and I can't switch off, kind of like we're saying, I'm like fine with it. I just almost even surrender to the thoughts, not try and have no thoughts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's like you've just got these 10 minutes that you're doing, and all of your problems will be the same. You're not going to fix anything in these 10 minutes. You're not going to be realistically any further in your life ahead in these 10 minutes by not surrendering to this. So you've probably got more chance of, like you said, coming out with that clarity, coming out with that positive feeling, coming out with like a better energy by surrendering. So it's just like, just let go for 10 minutes. And I think it's that repetition constantly of just like doing it every single day. And I think like the same thing, I think probably jiu-jitsu is my thing that's like the hardest for me to do, especially at the moment. Like I go through phases where I'm doing it every single day and my body's feeling good and I'm not getting sore from it. I don't have any injuries that are holding me up, like, and it becomes easy. And then I'm in the period right now where it's like hard for me to do. Like for me to do it 3 times a week at the moment is just like a fucking monumental task with like work, injuries, like life, fucking all the shit that's going on. And it is exactly what you said. It's like you've had this crazy busy day, you're not feeling good, you've got a bit of an injury, I'm not going to roll that hard, I'm not going to be able to roll hard, I'm probably going to get bashed, I got a fucking niggling injury, I don't want to make it work. Like it's just this constant fucking head noise. And again, it's like if you just surrender, like you're saying, like the thing that gets me there is what you said, surrendering and just going, whatever happens, it's fine. I'm just going to jiu-jitsu. If I get fucking bashed, I get bashed. If I do good, I do good. If I roll all the rolls, good. If I don't roll all the rolls, fine. It's just a matter of like just showing up, surrendering to that moment. And like you very rarely feel worse off for doing it. And I bet that's the same for the ice bath. That's something I haven't conquered yet. But it's like no matter what pushback and what resistance you're facing before you do it, if you do it, no matter the discomfort, you very rarely would feel bad at the end of it.
Yeah, for sure. definitely. And I think what you were just talking about is showing up. So, and it's hard because some days you're not going to be at your full potential, and a lot of people go, I'm not going to be as good as I was the last session.
Yeah.
So they build this image for themselves,
which is your ego.
And then you don't want to let like the people in the class down or yourself down, because I'm not going to be as good as myself last session. And when you were talking about like with the surrendering part there, I think showing up is so important, because you do have your good and bad days, but it's so important when you go on your most drained day and knowing how your body reacts when you're fully wrecked, because the chances are that's when you get to comps and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not on your time. It's not how you want things to run.
Yeah.
And the chances are you are going to be feeling the worst you've felt, and that's how you're going to compete.
Yeah.
So I think that makes, so like going in on your worst tired days are actually the best days to train.
That's probably a good point.
Yeah, because then you learn how your body works when it's fully ran down and not at its highest. And yeah, that's how it usually is at comps. You run down, you jet lagged, stuff doesn't work out how you want. You might have a crash in practice, or you might have a bad, whatever you're doing when you're warming up. So, like what you said, showing up, surrendering, and then but it's so hard because you also don't want to like ruin your confidence.
Yeah,
you don't want to like go in there and go, I'm not
There's
feeling
gotta
too
be a
good,
balance.
and then get freaking pumped by some dude that you probably could have had covered if you put a little bit more thoughts into your rolls or your moves or your riding or whatever it might be. Or for us, we do such gnarly tricks on our dirt bikes. So at what point can you go for a ride? Or the filmer's coming down, all these cool people are going to be there watching. Oh, but I'm not going to ride at my best today. So then you create this image for yourself, and then you might try too hard when you're not feeling it, and then you end up having a crash. Or you just surrender and just go have a normal doozy ride and don't care and stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like all this crazy journey that you learn when you see the highest professionals in their sport. You see on like their image, on their social media, everything, they're just this high class athletes, so high performance all the time. But I think it's so important to show up and have like average days.
Yeah.
Have as many average days as you can. If you're a soccer player, whatever it is, have as many average days, because then that's like your slab for your house. The more average days you can have and you go there, you're just building your slab. That's like your norm now. It's your muscle memory. So like going riding at the compound, like just go and do as many straight flips and just straight jumps. Have laughs,
foundation work.
Yeah, and just because that's your slab. Like when I was working into the triple, like I did have jacked ribs and I was really sore, and I was very short for time. I had to be so smart how I rode. But what I did was I just floated so many double flips, and that was my slab. Like I found all the spots in the lip. I found where it's going to go. I found where I powered into the lip. And I just found all the spots in the lip by doing heaps of doubles. So when I sat in for a triple, they were going to be somewhat consistent because I knew the spots in the ramp and just really built my slab.
Yeah.
Not skipping steps either. I am known for skipping steps and licking the stamp. I do love doing that. But long as if you are going to skip steps, be aware that you've skipped it, and don't just think that I got away with it that time. It should work like that every time. Like still have the formula in the back of your head. Yeah.
So I think I want to spend like a bunch of time on the triple, but I think like some of the stuff you're talking about is probably what almost like led you like into it, you know? Because I think especially being there and watching it live and really seeing. Like you could see the demons before you were doing it, you know, and it was like I haven't been that nervous in a long time, and I was nervous because of how nervous you were, and it's like maybe not nervous. I guess it was nervous, but there's a real level of demons that you were battling on that day to get mentally ready to do and pull the trigger on, you know, what you're going to do, and I think that so much of these last few years has led you up to just being able to 3 weeks commit to doing a triple flip and then pull it off on, you know, the biggest stage in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I always had the vision that I wanted to get it done. When so at X Games I broke my ribs and tore some cartilage in the side on my side. But then after I came back to Australia. The pain was like it hurt, but I kept charging, pushing through.
Yeah.
I got 2 weeks after I did it, I ended up riding Brisbane Echo for Airtime FMX. Did a week's worth of shows there. Got through it. It was very painful. It just felt like I had really bad stitches and just everything was seized up in the side of my body. And then what I didn't realize was half the muscles in my back were switching off. Now I just go for a cycle or a jog. I actually didn't have a car at the time, so I was cycling everywhere for a month. And I thought every time I cycled, I was just flushing it out. But the muscles were just kind of switched off, and they were turning back on when I was going cycling, but then they just kind of locked back up.
Yeah.
And then all the muscles down one side of my back became like discombobulated. My physio taught me that word. Where they get that jacked up, they switch off, and then they go to the next muscles and they overwork those ones, jack up, switch off. Yeah, and then you have half a back that's locked up, and then you got to try wait a week, ice bath it out, whatever it is. But what I didn't realize was nothing was healing, nothing was actually working properly. And coming from so many injuries, like you do build a high pain threshold.
Yeah.
And with that, they were that locked 2 months after I did the injury. I ended up re-breaking I broke 2 ribs in 2 new spots just because
of the pressure that was on them.
How jacked they were. And then I released every 3 days of releasing.
Who did that for you, physio?
I went 2 days in a row at this really strong massage dude that can really get stuff
Who's
out.
That?
What's his name? I can't remember.
Send it to me later.
Yeah,
I'm fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah, I got his contact. I found him just randomly as well.
Dude, how good's that?
And he's a mountain bike rider. He's like 40 or 50 years old, and he just like has.
Where's he at?
In Mermaid.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I feel bad.
Try and remember. We'll shout him out if you can remember.
And so he released everything really good. I went to my physio after those 2 days of releasing. She was like, holy crap, Harry, how are you breathing? How are you walking? How are you just standing? How did you just walk into my office? If any of my clients had a back like this, they would just go to the hospital, or like they'd be choked. How can you think clearly? I'm like, well, like I just thought that I just had a really jacked back, and I was aware of the pain, but I had so much momentum from X Games and so much like training, and then to have the crash.
Off that medal.
Yeah, well, no, sorry, I crashed at X Games this year and DNF'd.
Yeah.
So my crash happened in my first freestyle run.
Yeah, that was massive too.
Yeah, it sucked. Is
that on your Instagram?
Yeah.
I want to watch that. Pull it up.
Yeah, we'll play it. It was a good one. It was my hand blew off on the up ramp, and it was crazy because it was so hot. It was crazy because it was so hot. It was 40-degree heat, and we were rolling in, and I had a really good run going. Like I was feeling good, and I promised myself I'd stay calm and things like that. And our steering stabilizers weren't working because it was so hot.
Really? The oil was cooking.
Oh, they get that hot, man. It's like you have it on the hard as it can go, and you just can turn the bars still. Now, when you're doing rock solid backflips, letting the bike go upside down, you need the bars to stay straight.
Yeah.
I'm doing a double flip, one hand knack. Like
that must be it.
So many tricks in my run that is so steering stabilizer. Yeah. So yeah, you can see how my hand just blew off.
Yeah. Why did it?
So what? The steering stabilizers weren't working, and then we had mine on the esky, or like ice on it. Just undercooked it.
Dude, honestly though,
that hit sucked.
When I watched that,
separated shoulder. Yeah, sorry.
When I watched that though, play it again, Griff. This is you in a nutshell. Like when I saw this crash, that's fucking death. For so many other people, like that's not on a nice cushy landing. Like that's just straight up dirt.
Concrete. Dirt. Like it doesn't look it, but that is like literally concrete. That dirt. How hard it's compacted.
For you to save your life in that circumstance was so out of control, and that's the sort of shit that it seems like a lot of other people. I don't know whether they don't have the athleticism, they don't have like the awareness in the moment, but like if that happened to a lot of other people, they're really fucked up as a result of that crash.
Yeah, well, I think so many people said to me, like, what, you grabbed back on? Why did you try to get back on the bike? Like, now you're I was going for a ruler backflip, so what happened, I came around the corner before it, and our stabilizers weren't working. Now, right before my run, we had this steering stabilizer off in the esky, in the Monster Energy tub of ice. and we pulled it out, and it was so cold. Usually by the time I got to that corner in the course, my dampener was blown out. It's so hot. It was still working on this corner way more than I thought it was going to. I just landed my double flip combo, like one hand knack, and I felt good coming into the corner. I was so calm, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to come around the corner. And I just went to like come up and line up this corner, get a straight line. And as I went to just lean the bike in, the stabilizer was on so stiff and it just fought it. I'm like, oh no, it's not going. So I got on the back brake to steer it in, and I'm like trying to get the bike straight, and I'm just steering it with the back brake like in any little steering I had. But if I try too hard with the steering stabilizer on and you try turn,
it'll be like that.
Yeah, you're like that to try to get it back. And then you come into the ramp and you get sways and you're like, rah, and then you got to, as soon as you dump that power, if you're slightly off, you're shooting off in that other direction. So it's so important to like, I'm like, that's all right, it's all right. And I'm steering at the back brake, I'm like, stay calm. Got the bike straight, pinned it for my ruler flip, but with the next gen, that's the Levi ramp, the next generation ramp. It's about a meter taller than all the other ramps on that course. So having that extra meter, I just dumped it, and I thought I was at the top of like somewhat near the top of the lip, and I just went to reef for a ruler flip. I do ruler flips in my sleep at the compound, like it's a gnarly trick, but I can do it like first, second jump of the day kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I pinned it, went to just reef for a big ruler flip, and I pulled a little bit too early. And if you pull too early on
because
ramps,
the ramp's a meter higher.
And I just pulled, and it wasn't enough for the suspension to go through the lip and release nice. My hand blew off, and then it was my throttle hand also. So I'm like, oh. And then I've got one hand, and then I knew at this stage I was like, most riders would just throw the bike away and jump off, but I've actually had it happen to me a fair few times before when I do a rock solid backflip. I pull really hard and I go to the seat, and I've missed it a few times, just being too young and sandy and impatient, and I missed it, and I grab back onto the bars and it's anywhere I can get, and I find my head or my chest to the front mudguard and reef myself back on. I've done that like four times in my career, and I've gotten away with it. It's very rare. There's a few riders that have that have done it, but not many. And I'd done it like 4 times, so it was like when the hand came off, I just was like, it's all good, just stay calm, find something to grab onto, and then get your way back on. And I thought I was going to land that. And once I got my chest on the front mudguard, coming back around, all I had in my head was when you land, click third gear and hit that 120 ramp, because there's a 110 ramp straight after.
That's so savage.
And I was going to do a heel click at a super flip straight after. So my levers are still up. I'm like, just find third gear and just pin it at that ramp and just reef. It'll be sweet. So I thought it was going to happen, and then I come around, and then it just got me and then threw me into the ground, and then I was just angry and disappointed at that point. It was very disappointing to all the work that goes into getting to America, getting used to all the jet lag and and X Games. You wait all year, and we're not having many events. I had a 3-year contract with Monster. It was my last year, so I wanted to do the contract, and then I wanted to do good and just not let the team down. You know, we've had COVID. I did get a medal the year before, but I wanted to keep the flow state going for them. So I kind of I'm a bit hard on myself for that stuff also. But that's just.
I remember you were tripping on that.
Yeah, all the things. I just love delivering. I just love doing my job. If you don't, I'm grateful for the positions we have, but just do your fucking job.
Yeah.
So, so that's why I'm always hard on myself, and
Which good. I think you'd rather be hard on yourself than soft on yourself, though.
Yeah, and
But there's diminishing returns, and you probably should have just had a combo with the Monster guys instead before.
Nah, it's good. They're super cool. They tell me I'm good.
Yeah, because they were they ended up telling you what are you fucking talking about? You're fine.
Yeah, they love me, but I just love I love thinking like that. It's the best way to think. And it's just a hit of reality. My biggest fear is kind of being delusional and
True.
not facing reality. But yeah, so then I was so bummed to DNF, and then I went in the hospital. They ended up flying me in a helicopter because they didn't I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah,
I actually bursted into tears in the medical room because I just was in so much pain and it was just hurting so much and I didn't know what was going on inside. And I was trying to sit up and it was just like I had knives in my back.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to move and anything I did was just like there was a knife in my back. So I was like, and then they flew me to the hospital and then they got checked.
So you had all that. Play that one more time, Griff, for me. So you had time to think about all that shit in the air, eh?
Everything's slow-mo. Yeah, I was like, it's all good. Just find something to grab onto. And I grabbed the front brake there and see how it locks the front brake.
Yeah. That probably killed the momentum, eh?
That killed a lot of my rotation. I would have probably landed that sweet if I just grabbed onto next to the front brake somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, just if I didn't get the front brake.
How long did that moment feel like in the air?
It didn't. I felt in control. It looked like I was out of control, but I was like, it's fine. Just find something to grab onto, and then find your way back to the bike. Now you see my hands here. They were on both my hands were on the wrong side of the flip levers.
Yeah.
So I don't know how both my hands slipped around to the wrong side of the flip levers. So if they were down, I possibly could have maybe gotten back on.
Do you reckon you could fuck the front brake off? Because it feels like the front brakes is probably not really the move in freestyle. Like to grab it like that, because that just you watch your bike just stop as soon as that front brake. It's like, and we're not moving anymore.
So obviously the guys that do front flips
need them.
Yeah, use that. But front brake, you use it to reset yourself coming into a jump, for your speeds.
Yeah.
Use it to stop, reset, go. And when you land, sometimes we get out of control on landings. Like front brakes does 80% of your braking.
Yeah. I wonder if you could like make a real short lever or something.
Well, I actually do have a trim down lever on that one.
Okay.
I just happened to grab it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I have a trim down lever, and when on my triple backflip bike, I took the front brake off and did all that. But it was funny because like I ride into the ramp and I just drag the back. I'm like, come to a stop and then go. So it's like, it's funny watching a back brake like slide into the jump because usually we are just using our front brakes to set. And I use the front brake also to like reset where I want to have my grip on the handlebars.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the triple, I visualized a lot like where I'm going to grip the bike without having to set off the front brake.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, because when we're doing like when you're pulling for doubles or triples, it's really important to have your hand wrapped around the throttle.
Yeah,
so that's why you see it's coming in chicken wing. Because when we pull back, if you don't have your hand wrapped around properly, you'll pull back and not grab all the throttle. And
yeah. Well, that's like Toby. When you see Toby at Fink, man, he literally just reaches all the way around the throttle like this and just holds the cunt on the stopper and then just goes, oh.
That's insane hearing that come from a racer, dude. Just like
literally just grabs the whole thing so he's full throttle and his arms are just level.
Yeah. Wow.
Like it's mental, dude.
Wow, that's crazy.
So anyway, they take you to hospital.
Yeah, I did that and I was like, I'm still gonna make best trick. I'm gonna go there. Because I think I figured out I would have got second if I just went and did that exact trick with my double flip one hand knack.
Who won?
Rob Alderberg won for best trick with the front flip over the 110.
Yep. Fuck, that's gnarly, bro.
Yeah, and then Sheeny did a big double flip no-hander, which would have been like close between Sheeny and I. And then Luke Ackerman got third place with a double flip knack. So it was like,
So man. You would have been on the box.
Yeah, and I was just like kind of bummed because I just did that exact trick in my freestyle run, and if the events were the other way around. But freestyle is gnarly. Like it is so gnarly to put it together, all the runs and everything. But yeah, it would have been nice to get a finish on one of them.
See, X Games just got bought by someone. Like it's just been bought and sold. So
yeah, I did hear rumors about that when I was there. But yeah.
Oh, at that one.
Yeah, when I was at X Games, I heard rumours of I heard rumours that it was going to be in a stadium this year, or next year.
Yeah, that dude, it'll be sick. Like, how do you think about X Games the last few years? Like, has it been obviously like super challenging with COVID?
Yeah.
But like even before COVID, do you think that X Games was sort of like trending down and like a new sale will like help it come back up, or like how do you feel about it overall?
When X Games was in Minneapolis, big aircon stadium. It was sick. It was pretty successful. Obviously, they need to keep mixing up the venues because otherwise it's the same course every year.
Yeah.
And people get like just it's the same and it's repetitive. So I think it's really important for them to keep mixing it up, but it is very challenging to find those good venues, good events. I think them having it at Slayground this year was just they were coming out of COVID the year before, so they got away with doing it at Slayground. And Slayground is an amazing course. It is so sick that it's the best course I think I've ever ridden ever. Like as far as freestyle goes. But it being in it's like an hour and a half away from like most popular cities or whatnot.
No crowd.
Yeah, and then just being like not having aircon at the venue and picking the hottest time of the year. What's X Games without a crowd? And then like it's the sickest venue, like it's the sickest course and just everything. But to do it in summer without aircon and listen to me suck about the aircon so much.
Yeah, but when your steering dampener's melting and you can't. There's just like some.
Exactly.
That needs to be a thing. You know?
Exactly right. Yeah. So it's just those little things to put in equation. But yeah, I think, and then going into this year, they kind of ran off the same excuses they had probably the year before with like not go. I don't know. At least they're doing stuff like in action sports, it is hard times. So I just love anything that's happening or being done. I'm grateful for. It would be nice to see it back to normality, have some crowds, get the vibes going. It's hard to mentally prepare yourself and get it all gnarly and do gnarly stuff when it's just a
backyard session kind of.
Correct.
Well, I think it'd be cool too. I remember X Games as a kid being like the thing. That was the one time of the year where it was actually, you know Wade Hunter?
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to go to his house because he had ESPN.
Oh, yes.
So we used to literally get up in the morning before school and ride our pushies to Wade Hunter's house to try and watch X Games or catch replay. It was such a massive deal to us. Culturally, it was so important. And it feels like in the last few years, it hasn't been as important, and I feel like there's some crazy good stories to tell, and there's insane athletes, and I can't remember who the name of the group that bought it. Or maybe look that up, Griff, like the group that bought or like ESPN X Games sale or whatever. But imagine if they go kind of UFC style and start doing sick docos on the riders and almost you know how they do UFC countdowns and the vlogs. Yeah. Dude, imagine the dope storylines like Raha versus Hodges, you know, all of the different storylines that you could put into I'm just thinking moto, but then you've got skate, BMX is crazy. There's just so much cool shit. There you go, X Games.
Yeah, get in more on their stories and see what's involved. There's a lot.
Because that's what people care about.
And there's a really cool piece that just came out that Nitro Circus did of the triple flip story.
Yep.
With it just shows how Sheeny did the triple and then how it got led into Jo coming through and all the work that Jo did over the years. And the testing and the big ramp stuff and the injuries and then everything and then the way for it to all puzzle together. And then at the end, how we're at 50-60 compound and then we do how we're working with the airbag and then figure out this steeper ramp and then I come into the picture and things like that. But I think for me watching that, I always try to view everything as a third perspective and not try and just see stuff from my corner.
Yeah.
But looking over it overall, I think it was really a cool story and I'm most proud of it. The way that we connected together as athletes
to bring a gold about.
And even though we had the same trick, the same thing, we're trying to do the same thing at the stadium where it was we're going to steal each other's thunder. I think it was really cool the way how the piece was done, where how we connected and we're bigger than that, just about rather than just being anchored on your own opinion. And to me, I think that is the most proudest part of one of my most proudest parts of this whole journey was the way we connected together with our egos and everything. And then for any other athletes from professional surf, snow, whatever it is, fighters, everything, they're all going to watch that, and I think they're going to relate to that story of how we connected together on a big gnarly project rather than just the project itself. I think that has a lot stronger meaning and message and everything for the future, to work together, work with your friends, find your buddy that you're competing against and work with him. Who cares who wins? Work together and grow it together. Another analogy I like looking at is, imagine all the professional NRL players looking at action sports, and there's 5 of us left. And then why are they fighting against each other? What the fuck? There's 5 dudes left in the sport. Why are they fighting? Why aren't they working together and hanging on to their last, or like hanging on to what's left of the sport and growing that more and setting an example for the next generation coming through, rather than going, oh, I want a gold medal, I want to win. I need to keep everything a secret. And then I just need to train by myself and isolate myself, and so I can come out and win. It's like, it's a lonely journey for you to do that. You've got to work harder.
And then the ceiling's probably a little bit lower for what you can actually achieve.
So it's like looking at the bigger picture, more long-term stuff. And like, hey, at the end of the day, like, money is a see-through illusion to a certain extent. Once you get to a certain extent, it's just all about your why and why you're doing things. And that's what's going to keep you around for longer. If your why is capped on a dollar sign, it's not. I think it's not going to be correct, and then you're going to have a short-lived career. You might get crazy good results, but your career is not going to be. Might be because you want to keep making money, but the passion and everything
there's
else.
There's got to be like a bigger purpose,
and a lot of times stronger meaning, I think.
Yeah, and a lot of times money is just a byproduct of doing something. And like, I mean, I think about in my own example, my own journey, like I've never really focused on money with the podcast. Like I focus on money to the extent where I have 2 people to pay every single week, and I've got rent, and I've got like all of these things that I have to do to keep the ball rolling. But I've always looked at this as like, if I just do the best job that I can, if I just make the best podcast that I can, then at some point someone will pay me for it. And it's like, it could be like a multi-million-dollar thing where like one day you sign one contract that's worth millions of dollars, and then it's like, then it pays for the grind and it pays for the process, instead of focusing on that, like you said, that short term, like get the money in the moment, and then you can poison the well in a sense, because you know you haven't focused on like the correct why. Like the correct why for me is to make the best product that I can for the people that like to listen to it. You know, it's not about me. It's not about my bank account. And then if you do that, those other things just take care of themselves. And it's like you focus on doing the best trick in the best way that you can on a certain night. And then if you pull that off, then you do get money. Then you do get like all of the things then come from doing that one thing right. Yeah,
for sure. Jim Carrey said a really good example of it. One evening, whatever, he drove up to his lookout area and he's looking over the city, looking at all the lights at night, and he made like a promise to himself, something like, oh, this city's going to be mine one day. And he wrote himself a $10 million or $20 million check and put it in his wallet and dated it. And he it was in 5 years time or something. And then 5 years later, he got the Dumb and Dumber contract, and it was the exact $10 million that he wrote himself for. But he promised himself, and he believed that it was his from the 5 years before. And then he just stayed true and loyal to himself and never gave up. So that's a lot of visualization, but I think it's more just that, going a bit off topic with your why, but just having your why. He knew his why was correct, and then he believed in himself, and he set a vision, and every day he thanked that it was going to happen, and he thanked in advance. I did that with the triple. I already visioned myself landing it. It's already done. I just got to do the work, and then I just had to keep staying present and focused and thank. And because obviously, and before doing it, it was very daunting to know what I wanted to get done in such a short period of time, and it was so easy to crumble. So I did lots of breathwork meditation. I thanked myself in advance it was going to happen, and I just did all the research I could and modified the hell out of my bike. I think like maybe I was in a lot of the getting the triple done. My bike setup had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But it was also the years of testing and training and knowledge and just messing with so much random different stuff. Me going to the 2-stroke and having like a full off year on a 2-stroke, just trying to figure out all these different setups. I messed with a lot of different bike settings, but then I did move that all into the 4-stroke.
Yeah.
And everything just came together at the end. But yeah, no, it's if you're wise, right, you have unlimited fuel to do anything.
So let's go deep into the into the triple then.
Yeah.
So when did you decide that you were going to do it? How many weeks was that before the event itself?
Yep. So when I finished, when I was at X Games, I had the crash and everything, and then we were staying at Robbie Madison's place, and we were just sitting on the couch, and I was kind of a bit banged up, and I was sitting with Jacko Strong. He just broke his foot also at X Games. And we were just kind of talking about stuff and talking about World Games coming up, and I was like, I want to do the triple and want to figure out how to do it, and we're talking about ramps, how we could get it into the stadium and things like that. It was a hot topic, and then when I said like when I got back, I went and did those shows, and I tried to keep all my momentum from X Games, and I was like trying thinking that I could train through the injury, and then everything would heal, and I'm moving for the triple. I didn't really tell anyone that, like, everyone knew that I wanted to do it, but I wasn't walking around like, I'm going to do a triple flip, I want to do it. I really kept it to myself. I just wanted, because I felt like if I projected the energy before it happening, it was like it kills the energy.
Giving something away,
Yeah, but it just kills it. It haunts you. So I think if you want to do, it's like saying if you're going to do something, do it. Don't use your words. Yeah. And as a younger kid, I used to try and always tell everyone my vision, and if I couldn't convince them, I couldn't convince myself.
100%.
So, and that's what my confidence revolved off. So it was so strange for me to go, okay. So I not strange.
So when did you flip that script then on yourself? Because I can relate to that so much, bro.
I still do it, man. Because so many of my peers, so many of my idols, like I looked up to my whole life. Yeah. I still go, I'm going to convince them. But what I don't realize is I might be outgrowing them in a non-cocky ego way, but the reality is, or they have a different vision. It's not that I'm outgrowing them or they have any less knowledge or I have more knowledge or nothing like that.
You're just on your own journey.
Correct, and they're on their own journey. So this is the part where it really kind of confused me, because how to treat people and not how to be rude to people, but the reality is they just have a different journey and they're not supporting your journey. But it's like so many people might be thinking in their head, I'm creating an opportunity for this guy, and in your head you're going, I want to do something new that no one's ever seen before, and he's not supporting me. But and then in their head they might be like, I'm creating opportunities and he keeps trying to conquer the world, but it's just everyone's on their own journeys. And I think it's so important to understand that and really understanding the processes with people and manipulation. And so many people go cold on each other and there's little random arguments and stuff, but it's just really understanding the journey that they're on and the journey that you're on. And when they do collide, be very polite and don't cut any bridges short, because it's really understanding one another's journey. So,
well, I think,
for me,
sorry to cut you off there. I think just to add to that, because I've been thinking about a similar thing lately. I don't know if it will resonate with you, but everything, if you say if any conversation that you have to someone, there's a sense of ego that's involved in that, and not ego as in you love yourself, I'm better than anyone else. Just purely your own self-image. That's your ego. And so you can talk to people and it comes from your ego. And there's people that you sort of talk to and you want a response from them that then feeds back to your ego. So you're not talking to people to really talk to that person. It's not like a real genuine conversation. It's your ego bouncing to them to then get something back to your ego, and you end up you want to play this tennis match that then constantly elevates it elevates your own ego. And then I think that when you can get pissed off at someone is when you give them something. And how many times will you talk to someone and you'll be like, oh yeah, fucking how's your day? Oh, I got this going. You start telling them their problems, and then they just tell you their problems back. And then you're like, fuck, bro. Can you just fucking stay with me on this for a second?
We're having a problem off.
Yeah. But it's like, that's your ego wanting to then, you're chasing something, like you're fishing for a feeling, and you don't really want to have a conversation. And I'm guilty of this. I'm not saying I never do. Me and Sammy do it all the time, where it's just like, I'll say my problem and I want him to indulge me.
Yeah.
Like I just put, and again, it's like, I don't want his ego back. I want him to just keep working with my ego. So that's where that disconnect comes from with people. And I think that it's just like that simple concept of like understanding like what you want out of saying something to somebody. Like, is this just your ego wanting to play that tennis match it's almost like you're having a conversation with yourself so that you want to get somewhere. And I think like being in a relationship with someone or any relationship, but I think like when you're living with someone and you're having that kind of relationship, you've just got to be so careful as to like, what's your ego just looking for an answer to its own problems in a sense, and then how many real legitimate conversations are you having? And I think that's probably like, I was the person, and especially like when I started this podcast, I was telling everyone what I'm going to do. And I've got a few people that now they know my plans. Like, I will say that. But even now, I'm still just like, fuck, it sounds shit. Like, I went to lunch with Julian Wilson, and I've got some things coming up, like, in the next few weeks that are big. And I just spent the whole lunchtime fucking telling him what I'm going to do. And I left there feeling like shit because of it. And it's like, he asked and he like wanted to know. But that was just purely for me. You know what I mean? That wasn't a real conversation.
And you can nearly let your motivation to all your ideas and your vision on your projects revolt, because you've just talked to a smart guy.
Yeah.
And then you can somewhat, if he might just not be on that day, he might just be extremely worn out. He might be running off 4 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you don't get that response
not
back.
Have put all his energy into that, and then you're like, maybe my ideas weren't that good.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you don't follow through those ideas, and then a year later you see someone else do it, and you're like, what the? Didn't I stay true to myself?
Yeah.
And so, and that can only happen so many times where you figure out this formula. And that's how I kind of felt leading in with this triple. Like, I really wanted to do it, but I know
just save the energy for yourself.
And the louder I got with it, I knew the more it wasn't going to happen. And I started telling close peers, close freestyle friends, everything. And it was just so far beyond something that it was just it was just such a strong passion of mine, and I knew, and then I started figuring out that I had to shut off and just really trust, believe in all my formulas, reflect, journal, listen, and then just to get some momentum. Now, coming off this formula, I actually went through, I'm so glad I didn't have a relationship or anything going at this time. Leading into the triple, or that whole, when I redid my ribs and everything, even before it, I was so focused on what I was doing. Every time someone tried to talk to me or ask me what was going on, I would say, I'm just doing this training, or I'm doing this. And then they started questioning what I was doing. And now I'm talking like close family, like closest peers in my life.
Like saying, like, what are you training for? Like, what are you?
They'd question what I was doing, and then make me feel like I was maybe not doing the right thing. But I'd get off the phone and I'd spend half a day wasting my thoughts of thinking inside their head how I can make it make sense to them. And because these are people that I talk to on a day-to-day basis on the phone, like they're close people to me in my life. And I know I got to a point a month before, I literally shut out every close person I had in my life, like literally, and it was just me and my brain, just to be on my own more and create a new reality in my head of just meditating, slowing down, ice bath. Now, I'd still talk to people on a day-to-day basis. I'm around people all the time. But like really close people I had, or any chicks that I was kind of hanging out with, like just everything just went out the window, and it was just me and myself for this time period, just so I was on top of my thoughts. And then lots of breath work, and it took a lot. It was a whole month of visualizing, because when I come into that 1 week of riding where I had to learn the triple, it's not, I took a big hit, I need to have a go home and have a rest. I have one ride to get this triple done, and my body's going to be jacked for like 3-4 days after, and I'm gonna have to ice bath, rest, and then I'm gonna have to visualize my next ride. And I've only got like 2 of these rides kind of thing, and then I gotta be smart and fully rested coming into World Games, because when I get to World Games, it's a 4-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I was in freestyle as well, and me being me, I can't say no to things. I was competing in freestyle and doing the triple, 2 completely different bike setups. I had a lot going on. But all the training that I had when I was on the bike, I was just learning the triple. I didn't even get time to freestyle ride or anything. I was just going to go off all the training I'd done coming into X Games 3 months ago and rely that I still had it and just believe in myself. But I spent so much time like talking to people or trying to convince ideas and things, and it just made me feel like an idiot. I'd get off the phone, I'd be like, I'd tell them about my bike setup, like what I'm doing and my test. So when I was testing, like when I had my broken ribs, I was going out to the compound and doing heaps of testing on the ground and run-ups, and I was just doing so much testing, how fast my bike reacted, throttle response, changing gearing, ignition. I did so much mucking around and just thought of every little thing I possibly could have. Like, I mean, you look at my bike and it kind of says it for itself, but shaves so much weight off it. I've actually, so, but anyways, I was going back to the piers, and I just, every time I talk to someone, I just felt like I second guessed myself.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I got to a point where I'm like, it's just me, myself, and I'm like,
because no one's going to do the triple flip for you.
Yeah, and I'm like, everything I do from now is just a relationship I have with myself.
Yeah.
And then reached out to Daniel McFarlane. He's a legend. Mechanic.
Mechanic.
Brains. Reached out to him, told him my vision, and he was on my page. First person I spoke to, first person I'd done anything, and I told him everything. I told him what I wanted to do, and he literally like was the only closest person I had in my life that I'd go to him, tell him ideas, he'd give me his knowledge, feedback, straight answers, no bullshit, just straight to the point. And I was driving to and from his house for like, I did it like for 2 weeks, like every second day kind of thing. Just we'd change a part, come back, give him feedback, change stuff. And it was just, I think that's where the triple flip kind of happened for me.
Yeah.
Just doing all that stuff, like all that homework beforehand. Man, we tested so many things. Now, when I got back from America with my broken ribs, my previous mechanic before, I had both my dirt bikes in there. I just got one dirt bike. I bought it from Brisbane KTM. And I wheeled it into his shop, didn't even get to start it. And I said, hey, can you do the suspension on this bike? And he just rebuilt my other bike with, it was like 50 hours on it. And he just did the top end because I just wanted a fresh bike for when I got back. So he just did the top end, suspension, got it all set. The day I get back from America, I see there's a big fire in Burleigh, and my housemate goes, oh, look at this fire, this mechanic's workshop. Like, dude, lucky your bikes weren't in there. It's right near where, like, I don't want to say the names, but anyways, right near where the workshop is. And I'm like, that's my bikes. They're my bikes. Yeah, that's the workshop where my bikes are. I just kind of like looked at him and laughed. He's like, well, you don't even care. I'm like, but I mean,
it is what it is at this point.
I had a bit of fit going on with my other random stuff, whatever I have going on in my life. And everything kind of just kept hitting me at that stage, and I was like, just
you kind of get to a point where you just got to be like,
yeah. And I actually did a story on Insta. I'm like, when it rains, it pours, but I'm just gonna crack my popcorn and put my feet up and enjoy the storm.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, just fuck, keep it coming. Like, let's go. It was funny. I just had to laugh. But so then you had to go and rebuy a bike. It was like a bunch of things happened to me in that week. But anyways, and then that happened, and then moving over. So I go to Brisbane, buy a brand new bike, start again, and then I have a brand new bike. I just got one bike. I have a brand new bike sitting in my shed, not built. I get a phone call off from Airtime FMX, and they're like, "Hey, one of the boys just crashed. it was 9 o'clock at night. I'd already started building it. I wanted to get back riding. I was originally meant to ride Eka, so I really wanted to just try to do the second half or do a bit of it.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to get back on the bike and get my momentum going again. I just had a bit of head noise that I just wanted to clear. I just wanted to be active again.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I kind of got it. I pulled some parts off it. It was just sitting there. And then I got a phone call at 9 o'clock. Hey, can you ride the show tomorrow? We'll bring one of the boys' bike to you. You can put his suspension in your bike and then ride with like his suspension setting, and you can go test it at 50, 60 at a freestyle compound in the morning. And then can you make the nighttime show? Yeah, I got that. So I built the bike, drank a heap of Monster Energy that night, stayed up till like 3 a.m, built the bike, got it built, went and tested it at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, everything worked sweet. I rode, I did flips, I had enough tricks to do a show. Ribs hurt like hell, but I just tense and brace. I only did like 10 jumps down at the compound, but I knew I could do the show. I roll in to do the show at Brisbane Eka that night. First jump on the truck, I jump, and then as I land, some electric plug just came undone and my bike goes boom, dies on the down ramp, and just I roll off, and I'm like, the fuck? Like, are you kidding me?
What a day.
And then the bike, some electric plug like unclipped itself, and it was just that. So then, but then we got it good, and then we got all that good, and then everything else worked for the Eka. But like, it was a bit on at the time, and then coming after, so finished Eka, doing all the testing. So I said we were doing all the testing with the bike for the triple setup. I took my starter motor out, and we put a custom plug for the electric circuit, so it followed through. Turns out, like, yeah, you don't do custom plugs for electrics. So anyways, I was resetting the ignition, and smoke come out up near the ignition, and then a big flame comes up from under the petrol tank. This is in my garage at home. Big flame comes around the petrol tank, and I'm like, oh, what? Like, and wigged out and just pinned it out of the garage, because I thought that the fire was just going to go into the fuel tank.
And just blow it up, yeah.
So I just pinned it out of the garage, went to get the garden hose, ran back with the garden hose. I was a meter short from the door. Oh. And I was like, the angle it was, I couldn't get it in. I'm like, oh, shit. And then there was black smoke gushing out of the garage from the door, and I'm like, I'm going to watch my whole house go up. Like, and I have like a few motorbikes in the shed. And then I'm like, I'm not watching this go down again. I just got a new bike, and I ran into the garage, and this flame like coming around the petrol tank, grabbed it. I'll send you guys a clip you can add to it, because I took a video and I'm like shaking, and there's like all black marks around there.
Try airdrop it to my laptop, see if Griff can put it up on the screen.
Yeah, sick. And then so then we and then I put it all out, got it on the front lawn, put it out, and I was just so scared.
You would have been rattled.
I was. It was just like, okay. And then I was lucky. I only needed a new petrol tank and a new wiring loom, but turns out just don't do custom plugs for.
Yeah, that's never the move.
And then
fire's just fucking gnarly too. Like, it can just happen so quick. And it goes up into your ceiling. You got the insulation in there. The insulation catches, and then your whole house is just done.
Oh, it's insane!
Fucking so gnarly. Yeah, that whole workshop deal, man. I remember I actually drove to the studio, and just saw those flames, and I was like, holy shit! And then Sammy called me and said what the deal was, and I was like, oh my god. And I heard you had 2 bikes in there. I couldn't fucking believe it, eh?
Yeah, it's kind of sucked how the whole patterns worked. Okay, I found
try and send it to the MacBook Pro. Jason's MacBook Pro.
Airdrop Jason's iMac. Yeah, sick.
Is it on there? Not the iMac. Go MacBook Pro if you can.
Tommy Quinn MacBook 2, Matty McAlpine, Jason iMac.
So it's not on there? Hang on.
Nitro. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But, yeah. Yeah, so I was, there's a bit on. Matty McAlpine, Jason's. No, it's just Jason's iMac. I'll just text it to a number, and then once someone can, Jace. Yeah, I'll just text it to your phone.
Yeah, we'll just put it on after.
But yeah, sweet. Yeah, so then that happened. I was just like, it was scary, but then we got on top of it. It was all good. And then...
And all while this was going on, this is like you wanted to do the triple flip.
Yeah.
So there's all this shit happening and you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, and then...
Should I bother?
And then 2 weeks after that, that's when I re-broke my ribs in 2 new spots. Because I was just... But the biggest thing I learnt was not surrendering. I didn't rest. I didn't surrender to the injury and rest in him. I thought I was too tough and I'm so tough I can push through anything and keep training and charging. And man, I was showing up to like gym classes, HIIT classes, and just because I just love being around people and doing stuff, and going so hard and like doing ball lifts and like just so much random things, like, and racing and being the first person to finish in the class and just loving like just the idea of just, yeah, anyways, which I should have listened, surrendered more, but I think this injury was one of the best injuries I've had of actually really listening to my body.
Yeah.
I got so much smarter on how to listen to my body and know when stuff's getting jacked and fatigued and reading your body before it happens. Or when I go to, also like when you just do tests of how high you can jump, just a simple squat jump, and then test when you're most active and when you're not. And all these little things, because like when we get on the top of the lip, if you're pulling for a triple flip, like I think that your body needs to be fully activated, and you know, you're like your highest box jump you've ever done. That's how activated you need to be to get the right pull on the up ramp. So I think just knowing how to have your body activated at full potential and then not, and just really reading and listening and just doing your homework a little bit before so you can trust the formulas more.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that happened, and then, yeah, so redid the injury, then had to surrender, and then so lots of visualization, breath work leading into it, and then when I went and rode and hucked the triple, the first one I landed on my side, I turned out of it, and then I was like, oh, yep, watch the video, knew where I was, yep, sweet, and then the next one I got it, next one I got it.
How daunting is it to even on the airbag to do a triple the first time?
It's scary as hell. Double flips are scary. Like, so you're pulling as hard as you can for a double flip. Like, I've done hundreds of double flips.
You've probably done as many as anyone in the world at this point.
Yeah, I'd like to think. I know, like, the guys that did, like Levi and those guys did hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, because that's like with I just know how those guys train. But yeah, I'd like to think that. Oh no, sorry, Sheeny's done a lot. I reckon he would have done triple the amount that I've done.
Yeah, really.
Double to triple. He's a rider that does his homework. Like, and when I started doing doubles, I'd just kind of done a few, and then I got opportunities to do it at the show, and it kind of just went straight into doing them at the shows and stuff. But yeah, I've done hundreds, and I do them all the time. Like, I do them very regularly. Yeah, Sheeny and I would be by far the most. But I've landed like hundreds and hundreds of double flips and rode away from them. So, like, that's building your slab properly. Like,
yeah.
So to sit in for a triple, it does take X amount of like building your slab and then just sanding and being present and like being confident and not letting.
Because you've got to not spot the landing until the last one. So you've got to do like a double before you even try and spot a landing, right?
Yeah. So my formula was do the first one blind. Then when you come around for the second one, spot your landing and then judge it.
And then tuck again.
Yeah, because on doubles I always do one spot, have a look around, have my lunch, and then I'll throw another one. And then so with the double, with the triple, I just tried to have the same formula. 1, 2 blind, look around, yeah, and then just go again. I was wasting a little bit too much time, like looking around, where am I? Oh, yeah, pulling in, then under rotating. But
it looks like that's what happened on the first one that you did at World Games, is like you spotted the landing a little bit on the second one for like a little bit too long, and then you under rotated. Like, that's what it looked like to me anyway.
It's just so scary not knowing where you were.
Yeah.
So then the last one I did, I just came in hot, I pulled harder, and I didn't look at all. I could see like in my peripheral vision, but I didn't change my chin or anything. I just I just looked like this, but I made sure I didn't move or get out of it and trusted the process. But the first one I did, I got all my area awareness. I knew where I was. I knew where stuff, like I just became familiar with it. So then it was so much easier for me to switch off on the second one and just be able to know where I was the whole time.
Yeah. So the process of starting to work on it. So like, because everyone knows J.O.'s been working on it for a long time. So what was the process of him coming up to start working on it, like with you? And like you said, kind of iron sharpens iron in that respect. Like I'm sure he took a lot out of like working with you and your knowledge of like doubles and landing doubles. And so yeah, how did that process kind of work?
Yeah, so Jay originally lived in Melbourne, grew up in Melbourne. I mean, we've been having conversations about him moving to the Goldie for the last 3 years. Like,
really?
Yeah. And he was always like, oh, I'm just going to do World Games and then I'll move up. And it was just, but then World Games kept getting pushed back. And then Jay finally moved up to the Gold Coast just before Christmas this year. End of last year. And he's always had the goal of doing the triple and everything. Now, he'd started so many projects for it and done all his testing down in Melbourne. With Freeform, and those guys are just legends. They work their asses off. They are legit gnarly humans, and when I say gnarly, I mean like their work ethic. Yeah. And they're the nicest people ever. They're just so level-headed and just amazing humans. And then so they were doing a lot of work with the big ramp stuff, and for me, I never believed I built the big ramp and I wanted to do it and I wanted to test it, but I also knew I feel like I was kind of too smart to not do it. I just watching how they were rotating off it. It was so slow and so big, and anything that I wanted to do, I could never see that setup getting moved outside of an airbag. Yeah. And if it was, the landing ramp's gonna cost $200,000 in engineering and all that stuff. And I can't see it being long lasting. And yes, it could be a big one-off stunt, but I always said what I want to do is everything I do with my riding, like most of the stuff I do with my riding, I always want to do it so it's added to my riding, and I keep doing it. Yeah. And I wanted the triple to learn it so it was consistent. I didn't want to just huck it and then be done with it. Like I wanted to learn it so it was a consistent trick. And like watching me at World Games warming up, I warmed up with my doubles. I set my slab, and then I did one a crash. I know where it is, and then it kind of worked. Well, it worked, and I'm very grateful for that. But just build, I just wanted to do it so it was more long lasting. So like that was always my vision with it. I didn't like the idea of doing this big, just shooting into space and so risky on your health. Like I want to have
really?
I want to have kids and a family one day. I cannot wait to have kids. Like, and I know there's a lot outside of life than riding a dirt bike. And so I've always had that in the back of my head as well. I just want to be smart, like, to somewhat extent.
Yeah. Contrary to popular belief.
Man, what they were doing is just full, like, gladiator stuff. Like, jumping this big ramp. Joe was telling me he was hitting in third gear as hard as he could, dumping it as hard as he could. Like, just dumping it in third gear before you're on the lip, and just, whoa, off this ramp that is just, it's taller than light poles on the street. Like, they're like, I think I heard them say the ramp was like 7.5, 8 meters tall, and the thing's nearly vertical, and they were jumping nearly 75 feet in distance. I think it was 65, 70 feet. Now, so the standard freestyle FMX show that we do at like Nitro Circus, Airtime FMX, whatever shows we're doing, that's like a standard gap that we do. And then the ramp 7.5 meters tall, nearly vertical, and third gear on a motorbike dumped, that's like nearly 100 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
And they increase, the bikes just keep picking up more and more speed as it goes up the lip. So, and you look at Joe and how built he is and how strong, and he's just taking hits. He is a very, very strong human. And so to watch their style, and I was just like, it was crazy. And then I jacked the moonbooter and just tried to get it done off that, got close, and then we kind of seen that, and then Jo and I were kind of trying that style for a bit. And then when Jay moved to the Goldie, we both were like, kind of like, he knew that I wanted to do it. I did play it very like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't go to him and be like, yeah, I'm going to land a triplet world, I want to do a triplet world games. Well, we're just on our own journeys also, but we're close mates and we wanted to keep it very respectable. And then like even coming into it, it was like him doing it, and like our bike setups are very different. And then it was like, when I said there was tension, there was no tension when we had word to mouth or anything like that. Like, we were such men about it. But like in your head, you always build up scenarios, and Jayo had actually originally planned to go back down to Jacko's with Freeform, Josh and that, and continue with their setup. And Jay had another ramp that he'd built, and then that kind of just fell through. And then he was like, dude, I'm keen to like have an airbag session. Let's like kind of get it all going up here, and let's just do it here. And I was like, sweet, let's do it. And then it did suck because like at the time with all the testing, well, like I had the broken ribs, so I was sitting there watching all Jayo's attempts, and he was taking like hits. He's an animal.
I remember seeing some of the
he was learning a lot. Like he landed on his head a few times. He was over rotating some. He was getting some of the wheels. Like it was just so gnarly, but he just never phased him one bit, and he just has a heart of gold and just kept going.
I remember seeing him out the front one day, and he had a full busted lip. He had stitches. It was like a week before or 2 weeks before.
Yep.
He had all busted lip, 2 black eyes, and I was like, holy fuck.
And that was actually the one that he got, but then when he came around, he was just like a bit unsure where he was, and he jumped off. And then we don't know what exactly happened because he hit his head so hard he can't remember, but looking at the footage, it looks like he didn't actually hit his head on the handlebars. That was just his helmet hitting the airbag just from getting whipped. Because mind you, you're going so high, you're also with all the rotation, it's so much G-force of just getting whipped.
Oh, dude, I can't even imagine.
It's making the height probably double just with the rotation of the slap.
Yeah.
Coming out of 3 rotations so high. Yeah, so then we did that, and then we actually we only had one, so he was getting close, like we were getting close, and then we both kind of figured it out at the same time. But I came in hot with like all my knowledge of research I'd done with my last attempts, and then going to the 4-stroke, I made all these adjustments. I had a lot of leverage off the attempts that I learnt 3 years ago when I tried it on the 2-stroke into the foam pit.
Because you tried it into the foam pit.
I forgot about that. 2.5, 3 years ago.
Is that on your Instagram as well?
Yeah.
Go find that, Griff.
It's deep. I could probably find it.
It's on the YouTube video, isn't it?
Yeah, there is.
Try find that. I fully forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's where a lot of my knowledge came from. So
how many did you do?
I only attempted 2, but I got close, and I knew what I needed to do with my bike. Like if you look closely on the video on this one, I was so dumb when I did it. I had a full tank of petrol. I had my flip levers on. I wasn't very smart on how I did it when I did my first attempts with the 2-stroke. I was a lot smarter with all the stuff this time, and for it to work.
Probably don't put it on the screen because I think Nitro will probably fucking...
So there's this one, but if you just type in like Harry Bink triple backflip attempt, it'll just be like a old cheesy YouTube video I did, and it'll just kind of give you a better. Keep scrolling. Yeah.
How many views did you get on this one?
16K, boys. Yeah, you can kind of just skip to about them. Yeah, there. That'll do right there. There we go. 1,
I remember
2,
this.
3, 2.5.
That would have been a crazy good feeling to get. I mean, it'll probably hurt like fuck when you actually hit the pit, but to go like, damn, I just did that off like a fairly normal sort of setup into a foam pit.
So we had that jacked a bit, but then we ended up jacking it a fair bit more when with Joe, and then we also added the extension on top of the ramp.
Oh yeah.
So we had I think it was jacked by like.
Oh, Forzy.
Hey.
What a rooster.
Dude, he's a good man. Every time I needed that guy, he always shows up for me.
Dude, he's one of the better humans going around.
He's wise, right?
Yeah.
It's actually when you meet such amazing humans, it's actually they're wise. They do things for the right reasons. and then their formula's endless.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
So let's keep going again.
Yeah, so...
I forgot about this.
But we added this here as one,
God
too.
damn.
So,
how gnarly is it coming down in that?
Yeah, that sucks. That hurts. I thought I ripped the bicep, my bicep off my arm on that one. It just ended up being a really bad cork and swollen for a few days.
Oh, a bit of mutt there.
Yeah, got the shelves on the tools.
Oh, shelves. Fuck, that's so gnarly, dude.
Yeah, so it's
so
like...
So when was it? Like, what date was it? Scroll down a bit.
So
going
off
2 years ago. Shit.
Going off this attempt, I had enough homework to get me close to the wheels.
Yeah.
I'd planned on doing it straight away, and then Jo, when he rolled in, because Jo just came back from a few injuries himself.
Yeah, he had that gnarly femur.
Well, he had the femur, and he did some other, like, he had a couple other injuries as well. Like, he's gnarly. He motors through his injuries and he brushes them off like they're nothing. But so with Jo, so then I'd redid my ribs, and then Jo's like, I had come in, and he got one of the boys, and he was hustling hard. Like, he built the extension himself, and then we jacked it just using all the same stuff I used to jack it that first time, and then it was his idea to put the extension on, add the 800. That was all Jo. And then when I was doing my testing right before I did my ribs, I also was playing with all these different speeds, coming in way faster, jumping way bigger. I nearly overjumped my airbag with the moon booter because I went so far in distance, seeing how the bike would rotate me coming in as hot as I can, because that's what I do with the super kicker when I do double flip combos.
Yeah.
Coming in cranking real hot. And then power late, pull late. So you just got to kind of come in really fast, but try and roll up the lip as long as you can.
And then just go, bam.
And then crack it at the top, and it goes todunk and releases. So I was trying to use that formula with the taller amp, because it's so tall.
Yeah.
It was just kind of going into a wall, and it wasn't getting the flick. So I was playing with heaps of different stuff, but then that was the next part that I was jacking and do all that stuff. So I was kind of getting close to like ready to do that, and then with my ribs happened, and then Jay came in hot, and then he was doing all his testing, and then he was playing with stuff, and then I did watching him learn a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you do learn a lot. I'm not going to say that I didn't. Like, I learned a lot of how it reacted, how it pulled, everything, and then they had their sessions. Now, when you have your sessions also, I'm like, every time like Jay was there, I made sure the airbag was perfect. Like, even when I ride, like, I get so angry, I'm yelling at people the whole session. Hey, dude, the airbag's not ready. The flaps aren't ready. Like, I'm like a supervisor that sees everything.
Yeah.
And unless you own all the equipment, stuff doesn't happen the way you want it. So it's really hard to have a session as a rider and switch off. So I went to, like, I messaged him and that. I'm like, hey, just to let you know, I'm having a private session tomorrow morning. I just said, and I said in the group chat, I'm like, hey, I'm having a private session. That was when I went and like had all my triple attempts and figured it out. I invited Monster, my mechanic, and like one other person. So I had a tight crew, and when I had Monster, I just did it so I get all the footage. And then I had my drone guy, Brad.
Yeah.
And then my mechanic, just so we could bounce back, feedback, just
be super controlled.
Present, man. Not someone going, oh, this worked and here's my theory. And I just wanted to just have my conversations and not one wasted conversation. Just to keep my mind so focused on what I was doing. And I am a person that just needs to dig deep and be very focused on what I'm doing. We went through it. We did some testing. I hucked some. We looked at some stuff. We played with some bike setups. We did a fair bit of stuff, and then I figured it out in that session. Very good, very proud. 3 attempts. First one turned out of it. Next 2 nailed them. Felt good. Then I had one more session. The following weekend, Joe was with me also. He did a trip. He did a couple attempts. He did a couple, yeah, and then I did a couple. I probably did 15 to 20 floated doubles.
Yeah.
Floated just heaps of them. And then sat in for a triple, got it. I'm like, sweet, done, not going to keep fucking with it. It worked, and that was the last ride. That afternoon we packed up the ramps and then sent them away. Then it was a week downtime, listen to your thoughts. And then, so then we get to the comp, and
So what did you do to your bike first before we get to the comp itself?
Yeah.
So like, because can you go to Harry's Instagram, pull up a picture of the bike? Because you went deep on. Yeah, there you go. Have you got any more images there? So that just those two. So yeah, talk us through like the bike setup and what you did. So it had like one radiator.
Yep.
Pretty much cut everything off it. No front brake. Like. What did you do and what was the theory behind it?
Yep. So I've got Levi Sherwood's custom triple clamps on there that I got off him. They just look like normal, just triple clamps, but they're actually offset. They have like a X amount of mil offset, so it
tightens the bike up.
The forks doesn't change the angle of the forks. They just sit closer in.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the shorter swing arm at the back,
which you run normally, right?
Yeah. Half the year.
Yeah.
When I'm free riding and stuff, it's just good for like real rotational stuff. If I'm free riding, like I can still ride and do all my stuff. It just gets it flicking a little bit quicker. So you got the swing arm and the triple clamps to just that's to get the wheelbase tighter.
Yep.
They're probably a main one. And then on the handlebar setup, those bar mounts are built into the triple clamps. I said to Levi, he's like, how high do you want them? And I'm like, same as you, copy paste. I've always done that to everyone. I'm like, I just want what you have. I actually have all Levi's suspension settings in that as well. I've just made it heavier for my weight.
Yeah.
Everything else is all Levi's suspension in that.
So did you feel like they were bent or twisted? Because like after your crash, you were like flicking them, but how could they be bent if they're solid?
Oh, the front wheel, like in the forks, so they slip. So the forks and the front wheel is just twisted within the triple clamps.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you drop it in the corner at the track and then you just got to go hit it against the tree, get it straight, and then you're off you go again.
Yeah.
Lots of pressure off that big ramp, so it just
just
moves
torqued
them.
it a bit.
Yeah, so that, and then with the handlebars, my theory is more leverage. Like the higher you have the bars, the more leverage you have over it, and you pull harder and get a better rotation. So I got custom bar raisers because how I said that where Levi had them, they're built in. So I got custom bar raisers where they just made the bars higher by like nearly 20 mil, way higher. Like I'm like riding like a Harley, and then shaved all the knobbies off the front wheel. It was 0.5 kilo on the front wheel. So with bikes when they're rotating, any weight in the center of the bike's sweet, but when you start moving it out, that's where the dead weight is, and that's 0.5 kilo at the end. Could be like the same as having 4 kilos in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's just being aware of little things like that. So yeah, that was the whole theory of like making the front end light as possible.
Did you bring the pipe in?
There was still, dude, but I should find a photo. I tried to do all my own custom exhaust pipe. We tried to wrap it around the engine because the exhaust pipe weighs like, I think it was like,
that muffler's huge.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 kilos or something out the back. So I was trying to move it so that we could redesign the header pipe so it shot back up the other way, and it was like, you're not in the way though. Couldn't figure it out. We tested a fair few exhaust pipes.
Imagine how sick it'd be if you had like just a header, like a long ass header that like wrapped around and no muffler, and you just hear the thing like, wow.
Dude, we tested all that. We tried all that, and we were riding at the comp. I also just took the tailpipe off and seen how the bike reacted and rode that around.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, I actually jumped the jump like that, and it was like jumping to 350.
Yeah, because you need.
So burp, burp, burp. I was like, oh, that's dangerous. Shouldn't be doing that.
in the muffler, they build like back pressure, so it forces I don't know the exact science, but you've got like the waves that are going out, but then you actually need pressure to push back it, like almost.
There's so much science in an exhaust pipe.
It's
you don't
insane,
realize how much it all goes in and out and in before it actually goes out.
So what'd you get the weight down to? The front brake, that obviously takes a bunch of weight off.
I don't know the total weight.
Should weigh it versus stock.
We got it under 100 kilos. The bikes come stock at like 110 and 108 or something.
Yeah.
KTMs. We got mine in the 90s.
There's this company called Luxon MX. Pull it up, Griff. On the, I use their triple clamps on my bike because I've got these new.
Do they have the same offset?
Yeah, but I'm sure they could make you what you wanted. But even the triple clamps are fine. So go into Luxon, but they've got go down to the.
They look they look pretty similar to I think what
just go.
Joe's running.
What the fuck? That's weird. Anyway, or just go to their Instagram if you want, maybe. But they do linkages and stuff. So they're like obsessed with shaving off weight. So they do hubs, they do linkages, they do like the main linkage, and then they do the linkage that's in the center, and they just CNC machine it. Yeah. So like go to that picture there, the one on the right. Sorry. So like 44.
Oh wow.
And then go across 445, 516. So like even that shit. So like there's a ton of companies where like if you want to start doing these.
Fuck, where was this company when I was doing my research?
Should have fucking hit me
Where was
up.
it a month ago?
But that's shit. Like I'll
That's literally like I had a little weight thing like that, and I weighed so many parts on my bike, and we went over so many things. I didn't even have foam in my seat.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, I had a seat cover super glued on. We couldn't staple it because there was nothing. So like, I just had a seat.
So sick.
Yeah, tiny bit of foam, and the whole time, even when I was jumping to the airbag, I had a seat. Just it was hard plastic. I'm hucking triple flips with hard plastic, like, and it's like, what if you under rotate or like? But it was like, I don't know. I wasn't planning to fail. I was just planning to just get this done, and like, I was just so dedicated of like having it light over having safety.
Yeah,
just because like the end result was more important than anything.
Yeah. No, that's it. Go back, click out of that. They got other stuff too. That's like I think their hubs are way lighter. Yeah, like see the triple clamps.
Those triple clamps look sick. They look super light too.
So they're crazy. So our Yamaha Gen 2, go back in, Griff. Our Yamaha a 25% lighter and nearly a full pound lighter. Half a kilo.
Yeah, wow.
So, but you'd have to get them to make the offset that you wanted, or like bring them, but which I'm sure they could do. But I can put you in touch with them. So they gave me triple clamps for my bike because my 350 has 49mm forks instead of 48mm forks. But yeah, there'd be tons more shit I reckon you could do even, because if you're gonna start doing them like regularly, I don't know if you are, but if you're gonna have like a triple flip bike, you could go fucking ham, bro. Like it'd be sick to see how light you could get the thing, because you're right, that just increases the safety.
Did you see Levi Sherwood's new bike that he just did? He just posted about it yesterday.
Is it on his Instagram?
It's a single speed. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's on a post. Yeah.
Go try find it, Levi.
Dude, it's a single speed dirt bike, and he goes the mechanic. I was actually having good combos with him last night.
He's a great dude,
Such a good
guy.
Wise, right?
Yeah.
All his stuff he's building, everything he's doing it for passion, and he's set himself up, and it's just like it's just so cool to see what he's building. And he just built an exhaust pipe for a sprint car system. Like, see how he does all his own custom exhaust pipes and just
what a legend.
So yeah, he made this 1-speed engine. And because shifting gears all the time, it puts extra wear on the engine and stuff. And that's what he spoke about with all the positives and things like that.
Go back, Griff. Go click through. See where the exhaust is.
Amazing, yeah.
That's epic, dude. I wonder what he's going to do with this. That's obviously just like a passion project for him, because like he's retired now. Would you flip one of his bikes?
I did. I'd love to. I think if him and I worked, like, or him or Jay work together, or him or I work together, like,
dude,
quad flip's definitely possible.
Really?
100%.
Fuck, off the same ramp?
Nah.
You'd have to build a bigger
ramp.
ramp.
That ramp was just a moon booter that we just slapped together to kind of just did some quick mods and got it done. Like, the whole time we were at the event, Trav's like, man, I just wish that you guys had a bit better setup. Like, I feel bad that the setup could be better and I'd have it so. I'm like, dude, like,
it is what it is.
I'm like, just giving him some of his own medicine. Like, since when the fuck did you like just get the job done?
Yeah,
that's what he drills into us. But it's cool, like, of all his knowledge, he knows that there was a lot more room for improvement. Like, that only happened from like Jo just being like, we need to get this done, and then myself also having the same attitude. It was just like, it was just a combination of just not giving up and wanting to get it done and making it work with what we had.
Yeah.
It was funny to see all the testing and all the stuff they did on the bigger ramp, and then we just surrendered to the little ramp and made it work. But yeah, I always knew all the testing, everything that was happening. I always knew there was a middle ramp that you could do it off.
Yeah.
And it's just, even the designs that we have is so far off, and it could be so much better still.
Yeah.
So much better still.
So you were going to say at the event itself, so maybe we pick back up there.
Yeah.
Of like what just the event was actually like.
Yeah.
Because that's the gnarly thing. So just to lead you into it, fucking all good doing it at the compound.
Yeah.
All good
In your
doing
own
it on your
time.
own time. If it's a little bit windy, you don't have to go. Like you can just, have a fucking, hold on a sec, give me a sec, I want to breathe. Go away into a room, do your own thing. Like, but to be there in a stadium, commentators, you're seeing it on TV, they're showing the crashes that JO had before the, in the lead up to the event. Like it's a production, like they're going to make this shit like look good. It's built for TV. So like to pull it off in that kind of environment is hectic.
It is. And just to deal with the nerves leading into it, you could be actually just doing a single backflip, but the way they build everything up and the way they manipulate everything and the way they hold you and you're waiting and choking, I think we were meant to go at 7:30. I don't think I actually went till 9:30.
Dude, it was so gnarly.
So I was walking around like I was going to kill someone for like 2 hours because
Yeah.
I'm trying to stay in the zone. I'm trying to breathe. I'm trying to like... You basically imagine getting dropped into... You have this crazy fighting move to stay alive against a tiger, and if you don't, it'll kill you. Well, it's kind of what we're doing. Like, if you don't get every little move right, you're going to get squashed by your bike and like...
Yeah.
Well, I know I've lost friends from it. Like, it's gnarly. We've seen friends get in wheelchair. We've seen some bad stuff happen. So it's just something that you need to be aware every time you put on your helmet. So just that formula of like getting choked and waiting and then having a few injuries, it's really easy for your mind to play tricks on you and stuff to go bad or worse. Getting to the event, I was aware of all these things. I just had to put it all into place now. All these years of COVID, all these years of formulas, all this energy of staying focused, breathing exercises. I had all the tools, all the knowledge I needed to get it done. Now I had to stay true to myself and do it. And then your mind runs off, it plays tricks, and then the conversations you're having with yourself, just do your job. Do what you know how to do what you've trained, nothing else. And then you're seeing everyone, you're talking, and then you got to pull your mind back to it. You're talking again. Every time you have a conversation with someone, it pulls you away from the task, and then you got to pull yourself back to it. See it? Yeah, it's still there. Cool, we're good. Now I can go have another conversation with someone. Have a conversation. I got to go back and pull myself back to it now. Yeah, it's still there. Now, if I go and talk carelessly for half a day, go back to it, sometimes I'm like, fuck, I've lost it. Or I don't know, fuck, like he's too spooked. Like, I don't know. Everyone's different, but I find I got to keep going back to it, or like knowing that I got to do it, or fully shut off to it and then to switch back on. So like when I found out, I'll go back to when we got to the event. It was Thursday, Arvo, it was raining.
That was gnarly too, because everyone knew it was going to rain.
Yeah.
Like the whole week leading up to it was like, oh, we're getting all of this rain. Like it was 100% going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, so we got to the, which we're aware of, but you're there to get a job done, you block it out, because if it's for some reason sunny, you got to go. So you don't go in with those thought patterns. You got to be ready to go at all times. So Thursday afternoon was freestyle practice, and I rode with my freestyle setup, and I rode all afternoon. I trying to get used to the course and feeling comfy to set myself up for freestyle. I double flipped the moon, so I jumped the moon booter in this set. So I flipped 75, I flipped the next generation ramp, come around to the moon booter, and my first jump off the moon booter it was the first time I'd hit it in like months, because I'd been jumping it on the triple setup with my triple mods on my bike, and it was jacked and taller. So to hit the moon booter just standard on the flat on the ground with my freestyle setup, first jump was a double flip. So I do a double flip and I'm like pull, and I'm like having a look around. Yeah, I think that's it. Sat in, tucked again, rode out of it pretty sketchy, came around, spun a few more, looked nice, felt good. Felt so weird, so gooey, so different. All cool, but then that session, me trying to get ready for freestyle, I jacked a lot of my ribs up, jacked a fair bit of stuff up. Went to bed that night, got my body warm, got it good. It was still like it was jacked and it was slow the next day. I hadn't rode 2 days in a row because I know how my body reacts. So this was the first time I'd ridden the next day, the next morning. I went out, checked the setup. This was triple flip practice now. So I went in, looked at the setup, the airbag, looked at how it was all set up and the pressures. First time I jumped to this, the freeform airbag, Josh's one, and we looked at the ramp and it was all good and it looked good. And then this was like JO's session. Well, when I say JO's session, originally I told them, no, I'm not going to ride it until the triple setup, till the event. I need to save myself. Because it was how it worked on the Saturday, the Friday morning, I was like, oh, I got to do it. I've just got too much head noise now. So I looked at it all, and then it came out, and we were like ready to go. And what I didn't realize was with Josh's airbag, it's 20 minutes turnarounds in jumps. My airbag's 2-minute turnarounds.
Yeah, right.
So, like, not even 2 minutes. You ride off and it's pumped back up and then you can go again. So it's so strange to me, like, waiting for it to blow up 20 minutes in between. So Jo did a few jumps and then it dragged out by an hour. My body was warm and then I was ready. I came out charging, ready to just go to war. And then it got choked by about an hour and then I lost my momentum and they're like, all right, you can go now. And then it's starting to spit rain. I'm like, oh, fuck, I kind of lost my momentum. Like I had my monster before. I was feeling good. Now it's worn off. And I'm like, oh, I've kind of lost it. And then I'm like, fuck it. Like it was only now to go. Travis, everyone's here. So I went and missed my timing and landed straight on my head. Fuck. I did 2.5 flips straight to my head and got pumped. Yeah, it sucked. And then I was like angry. I was so angry after that.
Isn't that when you hurt your hand?
Yeah. So it's looking pretty good now, but it started swelling up. I grabbed my hand and I grabbed my hand strength. It was swollen. It felt like a broken bone. But it was just a bad sprain, good hit. Enough to scare you. And then I could feel that I had good grip strength still. And then I was like, all right. Got my bike off the airbag. I'm like, as soon as that thing's pumped up, I'm going again. And it's spitting rain at this point. I'm like just doing this just endlessly, like with my hand, just to make sure that like pumping it in and out to keep the blood going and not letting it seize up. Next triple I got, nailed it, happy. I even I pinned it for the first two, backed off, had a little look, revved, and then got it around. And then I landed, and then I'm like, all right, I got to get another one. As soon as the bag was ready, went again, and it was like properly raining by this point. Got some cool footage of Trav, like, oh, it's raining, and Harry's going for triple flips in the rain.
With no shirt on.
Yeah. Well, I come in with no shirt also because I knew I wasn't going to wear my body armor on the night. So.
What was the thinking there?
More rotation. If you've got a body armor on, it's more dead weight in a center that you probably don't want it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need all the rotation I can get right now.
Yeah.
Because if I've got rotation, I have good air awareness and I know how to slow it down. But
you can't get it back.
There's no speed. Once you've left the lip, you can only get spin to a certain extent with what you're doing by revving the bike as hard as you can and pulling it.
Yeah.
And pulling as hard as you can to get it around. So it's really important that when you leave the lip, you know, like as I said, you can slow it down. It's so easy by lifting your arse cheek half a foot off the seat will change the rotation massively. So it's like even just looking around, it just kills so much rotation. Just being aware of those things. And then the next triple I did, I undercooked it a bit, but good enough. And then, so that was it. And then I went in, iced my wrist, went and seen physio, rested. And then got it all good. I was ready to go the next day. Had compression on it. Had ice on it the whole time between Friday into Saturday. And then came to Saturday. We were like, we thought it was going. Everyone was like, yep, on time. And I'd done all my warm-ups and meditation and just done everything. And then I come into the stadium and thought it was going ahead. I was in the stadium for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then got the call and they're like, oh, it's rained. We've fully cancelled it now. We went and did signings and stuff. And then we found out because the rain was so bad on the Sunday, they cancelled it till the Monday night because that's where the weather was looking good. So I had a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of, go, being good, everything. At this point, I was fully through the towel. I went to autograph signings and had a bit of alcohol in a cup and I ended up partying that night pretty hard.
On Saturday?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I sent it that night. I had a bit of, I just had so much steam, and if I didn't send it that night, I know that my brain was going to do overtime and thinking, and I was going to be more drained by doing overtime in my thoughts on the Monday than if I went and partied, released, forgot about it. You know what I said about forgetting about it, having fun, finding a groove, finding a flow state, being a kid, being a human, just not stressing about, not putting so much responsibility on yourself. So to switch off, and then I ended up watching the sun come up that morning on Sunday morning. It was cool. And then, but then I just like kind of went back home, like sweated it. I went back, had a sleep, like got up at lunchtime, sweated, went to the gym, sweated it out, did a big cycle, and just like, and then just reset, got some vitamins in me, felt good.
Because otherwise, the option is you just stay in a hotel room in Brizzy and just wait.
Yeah.
And think about it the whole time.
Or you have the most fun with the boys. And mind you, all the guys had flew Americans.
You hadn't seen anyone for ages.
So I went and hung out with them. We had a good night.
Yeah.
So it was like a really good catch-up night. That night was way more like funner for me than the actual night of partying when we did it. So that night was cool. But in saying, when I say partying, like I'm using it to my advantage. The stress levels that we do, it just comes down to the relationship you have with yourself. I don't recommend it, but just understand yourself and know it works good for you and be responsible for your stuff. But so that with the Sunday, and then that Sunday night, everyone's like, "How did you sleep last night? Did you sleep?" I'm like, I slept like a baby. Like I went to bed, I got like after I sweated it out and just got all like, just fully flushed everything out, got water, vitamins. I just got I just got heaps of Nando's, pigged out, watched movies, slept. Dude, I slept until like 11 o'clock on the Monday. I could never sleep. I would have went to bed at like 10 o'clock that night, slept till 11 o'clock, woke up, went to the gym, cycled, just cruised in and I have all this band. I just started working with like a new trainer,
Oh, dude.
MVM. MVM. I don't come up with the biggest.
Nah, just wait.
His name's Rakan and he's a legend.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to go see him,
So he taught me how to decompress your joints. I didn't know that decompressing joints is like one of the most powerful
movement method on Instagram. MVM method. Movement method. So I'm actually gonna go see him as soon as I can get booked in. He's good,
Really good. He's a hard man to get a hold of. They've tried to, like NRL teams have tried to sign him and stuff, but he's wise, right? But he wants to keep growing. He wants to keep going with different athletes. He doesn't want to get shut off to an NRL team where only five of the team players only respect his work, and then the other guys are just showing up because they have to, or because it's the coach, or because
mobility is something you just got to put so much effort into,
Yeah, well, you either got to want it, or you either got to be going through pain where you need it, and it's efficient for you. And some people need it, other people don't. But some people that are more patient, that surrender, will find the advantage to it than others that are too rush and go, and I'm fine how I am kind of thing. But with how much compression we put through our joints and how much my body was struggling with injuries, when I found him, we got the resistant bands, and he showed me ways to decompress my joints, but it was creating fluid to the joints. So what happens with the joints? They get like compressed and overworked now, even if you're jacking just hard, doing heavy weights and stuff. So when you do this decompression stuff with the bands, it pulls the joints out of the socket, and it allows the fluid. It like
sucks fluid into the joint.
It allows
which is like
fluid
fresh blood.
Yeah, and it's like putting grease in your joints.
Yeah.
And then like I'd move around and do stuff, and then some of the stuff we did, I only had 20 to 30% range, and by the end I had 100% range.
How long was this?
In one session.
No shit.
Yeah, and then he showed, but then I'd also be really explosive, and I was doing squat jumps, and I was jumping like nearly double the height I could jump just from decompressing my joints. And it was stuff that I do lots of like Bikram yoga, lots of random different styles of training, resistant band stuff, but never been shown any type of way of decompressing joints like this. So it was really powerful. I only did 2 sessions with him leading into World Games, but it was like it was more or less a game changer for me. Like, it really was.
That's epic, dude.
And it was just what we learned on the first session.
And then, but were you going home and
lower
working on it after?
Once he showed me, I did a video of every move, and then I just knew what to do. So when I went to the gym on the Monday, or every day, I walked around the whole weekend at Nitro World Games. I had this big workout tub with all my stuff in it, like the psoas release,
how good's that?
Band stuff, the ball, man, everything's just, but everything adds up, like, and then also listening to your body where you know where it needs releasing and where it doesn't. But yeah, so decompressing the joints, I found that was a big one. So when I did a cycle warm up for like 45 minutes, just light. And then I did the band stuff for nearly 2 hours. Just had pods in and just zoned out, listened to some podcasts and some motivational stuff. If you believe you can achieve.
Yeah. Stay hard, brother.
Yeah, just some of that stuff, and just I was like doing some, like, just decompressing all my joints, and did that and zoned in, and then cruised into the stadium. And then when I got there, my close mate, best friend that I grew up with, Harry Turnbull,
shout out.
Yeah, he's a boss.
Actually, I should have mentioned him before when I was talking about Alex and Cooper.
Yeah.
I feel like Harry as well was like a massive influence on you. Like, he's such a good dude.
Yeah. So we were equal growing up, like, just had the same drive. We raced together. When he first started racing, he was nowhere near as quick as me, but by the end he was beating me, and like head to head, and like we'd take each other out, have the biggest crashes every race, and we'd laugh and shake each other's hands, and we just thought it was the coolest thing ever. But we kind of went on the same spiritual journey around the same time, and we were just connected so well with the breathwork meditation. He's went way further beyond that, but just so content on being on your own, being present. And just, man, we reflect, and he teaches me so much, because he does like construction work full time, and like runs a business and stuff like that. But just the way he surrenders and not always wanting more, or just very, very, very level-headed human, and just learns so much. Like, I can't talk highly enough about the guy.
Yeah.
So when I come into the stadium, I was getting rinsed with the same conversations. I felt like a scratch CD. And I planned it with him. I said, hey, man, like, I sent it to him a few days before. I said, hey, like, I'd really like to have you at the stadium and, like, just lock myself in a room with you, and we do some breath work. I'll undo the momentum stuff. And then he was like a trainer for me. He'd just stand there and he'd like show me some cool exercises. We played some music. We were having laughs. And then, like, we're just having fun. And, like, I'd have some friends coming up and like, oh, dude, so, like, how you going? How's your wrist? I'm like, dude, do me a favor.
Don't mention it.
Think about all the questions that everyone's asking me. Maybe just try and talk to me like I'm a normal human. Like, ask me like about how many drinks I had the other night, or like tell me some fucked up stories. Take my mind off this shit.
Yeah.
So, but then I was like trying to give, but I'm like, who am I kidding? Trying to explain myself. So then I just realized I had to remove myself from the situation. So then I ended up grabbing Harry, and we locked ourselves in like a room for an hour, and we just did breath work and just talk shit. And it was just so fun to just feel like I wasn't at the stadium. I wasn't there. And just forget and zone in, but just in a healthy environment. And it was just fun and relaxing for me. And then so I hanging out with him for a couple of hours before, and a childhood friend that we grew up with, and it was so cool, and it was just so like I needed it massively. Like, I think it helped me a lot. So when I did go to zone in again, I felt like it was a new day, and then zoned in, ready to go. Yup, you guys are on soon at like 6 p.m. Put our gear on at 6 p.m. God, no, it's not going to go.
That's so gnarly.
6:30, 6:45, or 7:30. Oh yeah, yous are on at 7:30. Go out. We're standing there, get choked, and we're on the floor for nearly like 2 hours until we went.
I felt so bad for you, man. And I was watching you like skipping and putting your like gear on and off and walking up. Oh, and then you're like walking back in the stadium, walking out. I was like, oh, fuck. I was sitting.
Too much Monster Energy.
I was sitting directly opposite, like, where yous were staged in like that quick shade sort of area. So I was like to the left of so we were just looking at you guys the whole time, just like in, out, up, down. Fuck. I was like, this poor bastard, bro.
You got to laugh at it. Dude, at one
now
stage.
You do.
At one stage, there was all these kids yelling out, Harry, Harry. And I'm just like, they were doing it like 45 minutes before we actually got to go. I ended up just being like, I told him to shut up. I kind of cracked it. I turned around. I'm like, "Wait, can you guys?" I just was like, I don't know. It was so hard.
That's such a gnarly moment.
Well, like, you're trying to be relaxed and do your breath work, calm your mind down and present. Harry, and Joe hasn't even went yet, and I'm just like, "Wah." And then it was gnarly, and then originally I was told I was gonna have a 5-minute warm up and float my doubles, and then Jay was going to go, and then I was going to go. I went in and had a meeting with him, and I said, hey, I landed on my head the other day because the jump, like, I got choked by an hour, and I lost my flow state. So whatever we do on the night, I'm fine, I'm happy with it. But make it very clear to me, because I'm very simple, and I get clumbled up and jumbled and frustrated very easily. So then that was the original plan, and then it just, I'm like going to the guys, I'm like, hey, these like Jayo's lined up, he's going first, and I didn't want to fuck with Jayo, or like, and then they're like, oh no, he's gonna go, then you're gonna have your warm up, and then you're gonna go after, and I'm like, am I getting my warm up? And they're just like, oh, do you need a warm up? And they're like, oh, and we'll page you and ask him, and they're like, I'm calling the boss, and they're like, oh yeah, no, you see, we're doing everything as you promised. It's just going to go Jay, then you warm up. So I'm like, so they were looking after me. They had it dialed. They were sorted. But
in your head,
I'm like, but yeah, it was all good. Like they knew what I needed. They had me covered. Like, they're legends. But yeah, it was one of those ones. So then, so I was like, oh, okay. So then Jay goes, and he just stomps at first go, and just like, dude. It was the sickest shit ever. Like, it was so sick. And I'm just like, Jay, you boss. And then I'm like, turned around and walked away, and I'm just like, that was the coolest thing ever. But I just, you know what I said about the thought process. I like got to keep my thoughts there and zone in. And then I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to go out and huck it and just land it like he did. Fuck it. I'm like, no, now you're speaking with emotion. Emotion gets you nowhere, Harry. Stick to the formula. What did you train? And I just had to talk to myself like a little child. And I'm like, shut up and do your formula and do your job and do what you came here to do. So then it was like rezoning in, calm. Yep, I'm present. Okay. Like, and then I'm looking around and I'm like, oh, I'm going to come now. I'm going to get on my bike. Go to get on my bike, and I look up, and Joe's on top of the downy, and then he walks back down, and then he's on the microphone, like, and he's doing a speech. I'm like, fuck yeah, Joe. And then I'm just thinking, I'm going to go, and I just took my helmet off and walked out the back, took a piss, and then I come back in the stadium with my helmet, and they're like, where the hell, I hear Travis talking over the microphone, where the hell did Harry go? And then I've walked back in, and I'm like, oh, they want me now. Sick. Let's go.
Present.
Let's go. And I put my helmet on. That reset was like the best thing I could have done. I'm like, all right, let's go. And then come in, first jump, just ride straight in, double flip first jump. But it's like floating a big double. I didn't even jump this jump to the landing. I didn't know how I was going to react. I didn't know how heavy it was going to be. First double, I came up a bit short, and I'm like, wow, I need to really dump it. The gap actually ended up being bigger than I thought. And then I pinned it the second one and like found the sweet spot, and it was like such a big double. Like, and I was like, as soon as I left the lip, I'm like standing up and I'm like doing it. It feels like I'm doing a sit up over the handlebars, like choke there. So then that's how you find your double. And then my first triple, and then I did those two floaters, and then reset, come in, then went for my first triple, and when I left the lip, it just didn't feel right. Sat in, tucked. I'm like, come on, you just got to get it around to stay, like just get it around. And I got it around, and I kind of like knew I was coming a bit under, and I don't know, my subconscious mind kind of takes over at this point. Undercooked it a bit, but I kind of like leant to the side a bit. Just so, like, because I knew it was going to bounce me. For some reason, I knew just to lean to the side of it, and just it kind of washed out nice how it could have, best it could have went.
Yeah.
Got a scratch on my elbow. That was all I got. That was sick.
That probably helped your confidence, though, to, like, crash and be like, I'm not dead.
And that first double I did, when I landed up the top, I landed in that same pocket. So I knew I had to, because before a triple, you have to come in slow and get all the preload right.
Yeah.
But I had to, like, really come in and milk it and power, had to power, like, come in hotter, but try power later, but earlier still, but just came in hotter and just came in so cranky, like, just with the engine and hot, like, And then actually on the run in, I looked down at my bike and it was overheating and smoke came.
I saw that.
I'm not choking anymore. And I just went and I'm like, just give it everything you have. And, first triple come back and I'm trying to get my bike straight.
Yeah.
I go to my mechanic, Ratty, and he was like, I was like, hey dude, can you move the bars up? He's like, they haven't moved. They're in the same spot still. I'm like, nah, just move them up. I want them further forward. And I don't even know how I thought of doing this, but I was like, I want more leverage. I've pulled and I felt like I didn't
You were like backwards a bit.
Yeah, I was
instead
back a
of
bit.
being here
And I'm
being
like,
other.
correct.
Yeah,
and I'm like, put it up more. And we had it up like a whole, like we had it on 0 and we moved it up to like +1.
Yeah.
So we moved it up like a whole thing and it was way like tighter, steeper. Like further forward. And he's like, we've never done that on any of the training. I'm like, I don't care, just do it. And he's just like, yeah, sweet. And this is in the heat of the moment. And he's just like, yeah, sick. Cranked it. I'm like, and then he got my bars good. I got him straight. I did about 4 circles trying to visualize, and then I seen it and I'm like, there it is. So like I visualized seeing it. I'm like, let's go. Come in and then just did everything cranky. Pulled as hard as I could at the top of the lip. And when it left the lip, I'm like, that felt slow. And I'm like, who cares? Just tuck. That's all you can do right now. Just get in and tuck. And I'm just tucking in, revving. I'm like, 1, 2. And I'm like, who cares? And I want him to look. And I'm like, who cares? Just tuck and just pull it in. And then I'll come around. I'm like, oh, I haven't hit the ground yet. And I'm like, oh, sick. Just stand up and then go into the bag. And it was just like the smoothest landing I've ever had. And I'm just like, oh. And then when I landed, I spent so much time thinking of why it wasn't going to happen. When it happened, I'm like, nah, the wheel's going to fall. Something has to go wrong right now. And then I'm on the ground and I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the ground. Just throw the bike away. I'm like, this isn't real. Yeah, it was wild.
Dude, it was so sick to see like the reaction, like how smooth you did it and the pressure, like I guess my mind in that moment, the feeling of relief that you would have had. Like I've felt happy for you for the relief that you would have felt of it being done. Yeah. Because it's like...
It still doesn't feel like it's done. I don't know why. I have an edge of part of me that's just like, it can't be over. It's too easy if it's over. Like, it can't be over. So many years, like, just so much hard work or time or whatever. But yeah, it kind of doesn't feel real.
Yeah, I'll bet. Wait, pull it up. Let's watch it.
I think it's because you're so used to things going wrong and keep solving the problem.
Especially the last few months.
Well, yeah, years even. Like you trying to figure out, solve problems and things that go wrong. So when it works and everything, yeah, it's just... I guess it's also falling in love with the journey, and the truth is there is no end destination. There might be to that, but
yeah.
don't know,
yeah. I mean,
there's a lot going on.
There's that. That's definitely a bigger combo. So you're just wrapped, like wide open, throttles to the stopper there.
Yeah.
Tuck, no look.
Yeah, I had a little look there, but I was just like, just keep going.
So smooth, dude. Dude, you even like over rotated a tiny little bit, like because you had to like really straighten out for it.
Yeah,
that's so sick.
Yeah, it was nice.
That feeling, dude, must have just been insane. Of like, yeah, just actually getting it done and not have to go through any more of that shit.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna go through more of it. Like, yeah, I'm still pretty young. I've still got a nice little career ahead of me.
But, but like for
just
that moment and
yeah.
that, like the build up that you had to go through and not knowing if it's possible, you know what I mean? Like for you, like you can, I think that's where that visualization comes in massive, is because...
well, it's the Jim Carrey writing the check and believing it and seeing it and believing that it's happened, and don't be shocked when it does happen.
Yeah. I think too, you were saying like before we even started the podcast that you said to yourself that when you landed it, you weren't gonna expect it to be a big deal, because the last time you won World Games, you were kind of almost expecting that your life was just gonna change in an instant and that all of your problems were gonna be solved. But in reality, you're the same person. Like you've just done a triple flip, but it's still you.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think wins haunt people. So when you win, they doesn't mean that they're bad. Like it just means that they think that things might change. They might have income that comes, so they might start spending heaps of money on their freestyle compound. you might start investing in lots of places your career thinking you're going to get this big return because you just got a return in that. So why not keep growing? It's like business.
Yeah.
Oh, I got this sick house. I built this gangster house. So now I'm going to let's build commercial properties and go hard in commercial. I figured out the form of property or like housing. So why wouldn't I go to commercial? And then anyways, and then biting off more than you can chew when you're not ready for it, or just knowing how to capitalize your wins and like not because you want to keep growing. Everyone wants the best for themselves, but just so my advice to myself was if it works or like for it working now, so many people ask me on the weekend at like Gold Coast 500, like the V8s and stuff, oh, what's next? Where are you going? Like, what's next? What's next? It's like the most common question. I think the answer for it is just keep my mouth shut and just keep my ears open, and I want to adapt to the world. I don't want to try and own and have an answer for everything. I don't know. Yeah. The world's in a funny place. It's kind of doing different things with social media, what everything's evolving to. I want to adapt to the world. I don't want to have an answer. I want to grow with the world and figure out what is now. I don't know, but I want to be patient and not force an answer.
Yeah.
And I think having a win like this can make you want to force an answer, and it's going to come. And then that's the haunting part, I think.
Yeah.
And then from, like, when I had that a similar moment at Nitro World Games when I did my rock solid front flip, not that it haunted me. It was actually the best thing ever for me. It made me believe in myself more. It was all really good for me, but I was lucky I was a little bit more aware, but I've seen wins haunt certain individuals, not because they're a bad person, but just how all the tricks your mind plays on you, and just what your end goal is, just all those little things, how they all splash together.
Yeah, and I think like I've been through. I think a good example, like in the podcast, is you think, oh, this one guest is going to blow this thing up, and then like everyone's going to.
Perfect example.
And then it just doesn't really it does well, and then everyone like gives you a pat on the back. And they're like, fuck, I love that, but your life's the same. That is
a perfect example, and it's just be 1% better every day, and then you'll receive 100% one day.
Yeah.
One day. Don't know when, and it's gonna happen when you're least expecting it.
Yeah.
But if you keep doing 1%ers every day, so for me, leading into the triple when it landed, I don't see it as any part of my journey changing.
Yeah.
It's just my 1%ers, all the 1%ers before, combined to, like, let's say it boosted my career by 50%. It's just the result of it getting dropped on you.
Yeah, yeah.
But don't think that it's gonna. You're still in the 1% program.
100%.
I think it's so important to take life like that. Yes, you get bursts of good, but you're gonna go through bursts of dullness, quiet, boring, or like you're not gonna be getting it. So it's just all the 1%ers. There's 50%, or there's 100%, but then you're gonna go back to nothing for maybe another 6 months.
You're still the exact same person on the backside of it.
Yeah, it's just looking at things more long term. I think it's childhood thinking of I'm overnight famous, and there are, like, I heard a good saying, you can get famous overnight but you can't get rich overnight.
Get
a lottery ticket or something. But as far as career goes, like, you can get a random famous overnight, but the majority, it's like anything, like in working out, if you get fast results quick or like whatever, it's probably means you do it, like you're using stuff or whatever. But anything that takes long to build, or it means it's there. It's building your slab.
Yeah, that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, and so I think whatever you're doing, if you do it in a short period and you get results, sick. But it's not a concrete slab. It's not going to be there forever. You're not going to be able to maintain it. You might, if you keep working and hustle hard, maybe. But I think I really try and focus, and it's the same with your happiness.
Yeah.
You can't go block the world out, go really hard at work for a month, work your dick off, and then go, when I finish my month of working my ass, I'm going to have all this money saved, and I'm going to go on this holiday, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
Your happiness comes from being 1% better every day, and then it just lands, I'm happy now.
Yeah.
But it's 1% every day that adds up. And when you start really focusing on the 1%ers and cherish them, that's more powerful than taking in a 50% off a one-off event. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think, like, going through life, if you have I find if I'm confused and I don't understand what's going on around me or why I feel certain ways, I'm then confused. And I believe it's like walking around with a 20 kilo weight on your head. And I think the goal is to walk through life is like walking around life without a 20 kilo weight on your head. You want to float, you want to hover through your days.
Yeah.
And that comes from understanding your mental health, why you hang out with people and why you do what you do. And really understanding your why. You're trying to save money to impress people that you don't like.
Yeah.
What is your actual true why? Ask yourself, why do you want things? Why are your goals? I know I'm going like sound like Gary Vee or someone right now, but it's just really go into depth. Ask yourself the extra question, and then kind of look at those things, and then redesign all the 1%ers, because then every day the ship is moving X amount of speed, and if your wires are wrong or you're not focusing on these 1%ers, you're gonna just keep going in the straight direction. Then you're gonna end up over here. Or you can steer the boat 1% different direction every day, and you'll end up 90 degrees in the other direction, but from 1%ers. Yeah. And then this will happen over a year, 6 months, whatever it might be. Now, when you get over in that direction, as soon as you take your hands off the steering wheel of your 1%ers, the boat's going to go back to where it was going.
Yeah.
So you got to stay on top of these 1%ers every day, and that's the long-term things that add up in the long run. And I feel like that's what happened with me with the Triple project, and it was all my 1%ers through COVID, everything. It was just all those little 1%ers, rebuilding my compound. I spent like nearly $90,000 on renovating the compound. I could have bought another house, kept playing Monopoly. But you got like concrete run-ups, the airbag, got a big generator, ran all the electrical wires under the ground, just made it so
dude, and I remember that.
Easy, yeah.
I remember that process too. Like, you did so much of that by yourself as well. Yeah. And like, I mean, obviously you had help, but I remember it was like pissing down rain constantly. And
I bought a caravan and lived down at the compound just because it took me an hour and a half to go to and from the compound because the border was shut because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I bought the caravan, lived down there. I just went through a breakup at the time, so I was like, sick, I'm just going to buy a caravan, zen out, and just build my dream setup. And I just hibernated down there for ages.
That's being in love with the process.
Yeah.
And that's like, I feel lucky that I had that thought in my head from a pretty young age. Like, I don't know why. It was even on like my MySpace or something like that. Look, it was some fucking corny thing that I used to write, like the journey doesn't matter, like the journey is the road or something like that.
Yeah.
And I always thought that as long as
no destination,
there's no destination, there's
false.
only the road. I think is what I said. Like, there's no place that you're gonna reach. Like, you're gonna pass through places on the way.
Yep.
And for you, it's like you pass through a Nitro World Games win, and then you pass through a triple flip, and then you pass through getting married and having kids, and then that's all on the road. Mm-hmm. So it's like, as long as you're on a road that you want to be driving on, and you can enjoy that road, like, and you know that you're heading north, to like whatever your version of north is. There's just no place you're going to get to where you stop driving the car.
Yeah.
Like, you stop driving the car when you're dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's at no point is it like, this is the place I'm staying now. You have to keep going every day. Like, time goes by whether you're on the road or not. You know, and the days that you're not spent, you're fucking not going anywhere. So like, that was always something I kind of had in my mind. And it's like, you kind of get to choose how you drive the car. Yep. In a sense, and then how you drive the car and the type of car that you have is going to determine the type of places that you can like get to on that road, and you've got to just love being in that car, and you've got to love driving on that road. And for me, like, I think about the time that you spent living at the compound, like, you were on a fucking, sometimes the road's real gnarly and it's dirt and it's flooded and it's shit and you're getting bogged, but you just, you got to keep going to get to that next place. And I think about the time that you spent living in the caravan as just being on the road, and like, that was a tough road. Like, that was a tough one to, you spent a lot of time in that place. You spent a lot of time. Yeah, but you spent a lot of time like digging concrete by yourself. Yeah, you could look at that on the outside in and go, fuck, I wish I just had the money to pay some cunt to do it. And, but it's like, you fell in love with like that process. And it's the same with like your health. Like you talked about, going through the pain of decompressing those joints and spending 2 hours stretching. Like, it's fairly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's fairly painful to do it, but you're on the right road. And there's a thing, have you read Atomic Habits yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I listened.
So yeah, you know when he talks
I
about...
stopped chewing my fingernails from that.
Really?
That was the one thing that I picked up a lot of good habits out of that one. But I listened to it 3 years ago, and I nail clippers. I always chewed my fingernails. Came out of that. I still to this day I use nail clippers.
Yeah, dude. I stopped doing that around the same time too. That was like one bad habit that I had.
Stacking.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like he says in that book that you can have a plane leave LAX, right, and 3 degrees of difference. One's going to land you in New York and one's going to land you in Atlanta. 3 degrees. That's such a small difference. Like 3 degrees on a compass is tiny, you know, but it's like
that's life.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's like that. And you are your habits.
Yeah.
Like, you're not...
They're all the 1%ers.
Dude.
Like, it's all those little things.
Yeah, I was telling Anna, we were talking about just literally being on the right road, you know? And it's like, you're almost not a person. You're just your habits.
Yeah.
So like, I'm being a person that people, like you say, oh, you read a lot. That's because I just, every day I read. That's like one, and you can read once and you're not a person that reads.
Yeah.
If you want to be a person that reads, like doing it once, doing it like every other, it's a habit. You get up and you do it, and then it's over time, like that becomes like who you are. And then by not eating junk food constantly, you become a healthy, you know, like you become a healthy person. By going to the gym every day, you become a person that works out. That sounds so silly to say, but it's like the type of person that you are is only the things that you do every single day. So you can't be a fit and healthy person without doing something every single day to make that so. And I think a lot of times we want to be something and we look at like the end result of like it's a thing, but it's not a thing. It's like just a process.
Yep.
Everything is just a process, you know? And like, I think when you talk about surrendering, like when you surrender to that fact that it's a process that you have to go through. Like if you want to lose a bunch of weight, then it's just like, that's not a thing you can be. It's a process you have to do.
So we're talking about roads, journeys, where you're going. I think the biggest thing that haunts people is end destination thinking.
Yeah.
So you come into the project and you're saying if you're on the road, you're falling, whatever you're doing, how you said you're going to go do a triple flip, you're going to get married, whatever. People think when I get this, I'm going to be happy, or and little things like that. So it's falling in love with the journey, but never coming into anything with end destination thinking. Yeah. Now, when I say this, I love using my breakup formulas that I go with fear, because I can manipulate the two with a lot of scenarios. And my favorite one is like I seen one of the boys, I was teaching them to flip, and I wanted them to be calm as possible when they flipped. They got to the compound and they couldn't even have a normal ride or do their uprights because they were so scared about doing the flip, and that was their end destination thinking. Mind you, when I go in riding, I'm trying to switch off, have a normal ride. I've got the triple on the back of my mind, and it ruins your normal ride because you have end destination thinking. Because you know you have to do the triple at the end, but you need to surrender, switch off, do the road, and then now I'm up to doing the triple. Now I'm present. One of the hardest things you'll ever do in life. I'm going on a date with a chick, hanging out with them, good energy. Sometimes you'll just take them for who they are, or sick like this. She's funny as sick, or she's funny as, or but would she be good influence for my kids, family? Would she be a good mum? Would she be a good wife? You're overdoing it, and then you're not even going to get the good qualities out of this human because you're cutting the formula short, the road short. Yeah. So you can't have end destination thinking because it haunts the formula. Yeah. And it's with your work, your job. Okay, I'm going to go work for this guy. I want to be the boss of this company. Going in there every day, I'm going to be the boss. Hey, why don't you just learn the product, surrender, and focus on the task in front of you, and then the end destination will come without you knowing. So if your wire's right and you don't have end destination thinking, you will get the best out of the boss, the person, the wife, the girl, whatever it is, and it will surprise you, and you'll get new surprises the whole way along the journey. Yeah. So really knowing your why you're going into it, why you're hanging out with them, to understand your journey. And when you understand these things, you can go through your days weight free. And if your why's wrong, or you have end destination thinking, that 20 kilo weight's going to be fucking sitting on your head, and you're going to be trapped in your own thoughts, and then you're going to go, it's his fault, it's her fault. Then you're not taking accountability, you're not taking responsibility. Then there's clashes, then there's bad energy. You all are good people, you're all trying to do stuff for the right reasons, but there's collisions, and it comes from people not understanding their own mental health.
Yeah, dude. So you talk about that end destination thinking, right? So real good example, Angus that works here. So he works for Maddie, and he started working in the warehouse, like just doing shipping, right? And he'd come to work, he's like the first one at work every day. Like, I don't know, Maddie paid him to be fuck all, right? It's first job out of school. So he comes in every day, he's the first one here, and then he's like packing, doing his thing. His job probably lasts about 3 hours, right? Of like the actual work that Maddie pays him to do. Motherfucker's the last one to leave, and I love him for it, man. And so he's been here like, I reckon maybe, I guess almost a year. I didn't really pay too much attention to exactly when he started. But now, guess what he's doing? He's at the V8s doing social media.
Sick.
For Triple 8 and for all.
And then you had someone else that worked for you that amount of time. Or why didn't I get to do that?
Or like people that
stage.
Or the people that come in.
He swept the floors at the end of his shift, and I didn't have to ask him.
100%, man. Like, he literally just come in, and he just always happy, always doing his shit. Like, just chilling, like learning stuff, like fucking watching YouTube videos on how to do things to get to the goal of like where he wants to go. But he didn't come in and be like, man, packing boxes fucking sucks. Like, this isn't getting me closer to doing what I want to be doing. And then you end up dipping out and you go somewhere else, and you being in those thoughts of like, this is fucked, or why don't I get to do this? These guys get, blah, 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 all the shit that you could say.
Dude, those kids are rare to come across these days.
Dude, crazy rare.
This next generation's pretty haunted.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
Very haunted.
But I look at him, like I saw him at the V8s on the weekend, and he was so fucking stoked to be there, and he was like, I was so happy for him, because like that job's not promised to him. You know what I mean? No one said, Matty wasn't dangling that over his head, being like, mate, if you fucking do this, and he took the initiative. He did it. He stayed here. He's the first here, last to leave every single day.
How old is he?
He's only like 18 or something like that.
Boss.
And it's just like, yeah, boss, 100%. And you know what gets you, like, I think that's to talk about the generation or whatever. Like, the thing that gets you the respect of people, like, it's what got you respect with Pastrana.
Yeah.
Is like, you just fucking got there and sacked up and like did what you had to do. And it's not always like the big flashy things that get people's respect, man. Like, the things that get people's respect is like exactly what Angus did, you know? You just first here, last leave. That's it. Yeah. How simple is that? Yeah. And then it's like, when you don't have the work to do, find the work to do.
But it's just having the why right. Everything comes nearly for free if your why's right. And when I say for free, it's hard. It's hard. You have to shop. You have to be there. You still hear your alarm go off and you're like, oh, I'm tired. But once you're there, if your why's right, everything makes sense. The next part to that is all the people surrounded by us whinge and they strip our whys. Yeah. So if any peers you have to be so smart on who you hang out with, because everyone around us, your family, your mum, like just everyone, they're not saying like just the average 95% in your people in your life are usually whinging or stripping your why, more or less. Not everyone, but
there's a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't mean to be so talk negative on people, but it just you got to be just aware of what you're letting in and what you're letting out.
Well, what you're letting out too, like I think so many people aren't conscious of. Again, it's like your ego just talking for your own sake, and like I'm guilty of it, and I try really hard not to do it these days, and I try to again not be around people that put shit on you, like they just tell you how bad their day was. Fuck off. Like,
give me 5 positives. Go.
I don't.
I say this to my mum all the time.
I don't need it,
like,
bro.
I'm not going to call you if I get hit with 5 negatives. I need 5 pluses, then you can give me 1 negative, and then go 5 pluses, 1 minus, 5.
And honestly, so many people will tell you their problems, and then you give them a solution, and then they get the shits with you.
They argue it.
And
they
you're just like...
manipulate your answer. I'm like, don't ask me the question.
Yeah, it's like, don't fucking
the
ask
advice.
me
if you're going to manipulate my answer and then make me leaving the room second guessing myself.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I'm probably give all the same patterns back to people without me realizing sometimes. Yes, I'm getting a little bit more aware, but I'm like by far made all the mistakes, every mistake under the sun. Like, I've learned a lot over the years, and whether if I say all this knowledge and then I put it to practice is another story also.
Yeah,
like, there might be days where I'm being a hypocrite on my own stuff.
But that's being on the road. You know what I mean? Like, you can't help but we're all fucking going that way through life, and it's like, I think it's just having the awareness of like wanting to implement.
At least you're trying, or you're projecting the energy.
Well, some people aren't aware. There might be some people that are listening to this right now and being like, "Fuck, do I actually call my mates just to whinge?" And there might be, and doesn't make you. Newsflash, doesn't make you a bad person, right? It's reflecting. It's just what people fucking do,
and it's how you bounce back from it, also. Yeah,
and you just might not know that's like a habit that you have, you know. So it's just like that little bit of self-awareness. You're not gonna. It's not like you go fixed overnight, fucking sweet, you know. But it's like just again having that self-awareness. I think that's where I think the meditation stuff comes in, because it's like I think of it as just like a gym for your mind. Yeah, you're not going to get.
It is.
That's all it is. It's just the same thing. You go to the gym
on our bodies. Yeah. Why wouldn't you train on your mind and go to the gym for your mind? That's what breathwork is. It's gym for your mind.
Yeah, and I think
Alex Hayes taught me that one.
I think that the thing is too, right? So people think when they meditate, or they're like, oh, I can't meditate. I've got heaps of fucking thoughts and shit. You know, I can't turn my brain. No, they're like, I can't turn my brain off. I just sit there and think.
Exactly,
and it's like,
you should do it.
Yeah, it's like, well, that's the thing. Like, that's what you're observing. Like, you want to sit down and you want to notice your thoughts, and you want to notice some patterns in your thought, and that's a chance where you get to sort of sit and almost like watch your thoughts like it's a movie, in a sense, or like
process third perspective.
Yeah, just like sit back a little bit, see what's
third perspective's a powerful one if you can use it too. It takes a lot of discipline, but it's really powerful. The other one, I heard a good one off this monk. He said, I woke up and I get anxiety all the time, and it hits me, and I'm so scared, and I don't know why it's here. And then one day, when anxiety came, I named him Tom.
And
I said, hello, Tom, you're back. What are you doing? Hello, Tom, how are you today? And I talked to my anxiety, and I was like, oh, what are you going to throw at me today, Tom? Like, how are you going to make me feel? Oh, you're trying that one? Oh, you did that yesterday and the day before. Oh, okay. Are you going to do it again? Oh, okay, cool, Tom. And he kept talking to it, and he goes, then me and Tom became friends, and he helped me stay focused. Tom came, and I'm focused on task now. Then one day Tom went away, and I missed Tom, and Tom is no longer here. And the way when I heard that, I was like, wow, flipping thoughts.
Yeah.
Has such a depth meaning on it.
Dude, I don't even think I really actually knew what anxiety was until I started meditating.
When I did the first podcast with you, I used to say to everyone, anxiety is a made-up word.
I was the exact same, bro.
Because I was so sick of people saying anxiety and depression on Little Boy Cried Wolf, and I know they didn't have it, and they were using it, and I heard it that much in that many phrases. I was like, they're made-up words. Anxiety and depression are made-up words that you guys are choosing to believe in. And what? Because you just want to look for your life's hard. Life's meant to be hard. Stop using these backward emergency words for your problems. So I was so used to shutting it out. Now I do have a new answer for it. I do know that people struggle for it, or lose lives over it. I know how serious it is. I was just so sick and tired of the Little Boy Cried Wolf.
But you are right, though, in a sense, right? And
I just had to learn how to go about it properly in case I did have the person that actually struggled by it.
Well, and all right, but so you're right in the sense that anxiety and depression are just words. They're just, and it's a, but in that sense, everything is. Like if you're just, so I guess this to go like deep meditation for a second.
I got my snorkeling gear on. Let's go deep, baby.
But everything is just a word. Everything is just a label. Everything is just a concept. So like,
just something you build up in your head.
Well, what you have before your concept of yourself, before any thoughts. There's like this background awareness. So like what we are is just awareness. And I think the thing that it was like there's not milestones, but like insights that hit you real hard, like when you're in a journey of like meditating and really like kind of getting into that world and then living in it. So for me at least, like, and the last probably, I go in phases, like the last probably 3 to 4 months, like I haven't really been in a phase of like living with my meditation practice where I'm like thinking about it, or not thinking about it, but like feeling it a lot. Like there'll be times where I'll go through months and months where like most of what I think about is like awareness, like just being background awareness, not really connecting with thoughts, not feeling an identity in the same way, like that ego mind, and not having those like weird conversations with people, projecting my ego out onto other people, just like really sitting just as kind of not a lot. But then I go into other phases where I'm just me and I'm fucking Jace and I'm the dude that's got this sick podcast and I'm fucking, people are telling me I'm killing it and then I think I'm killing it, you know? So there's like these...
Dude, it's crazy seeing how popular you are when you roll into like a track or anything.
It's fucking weird.
Just like... Dude, what you have built. Yeah, anyway, sorry, keep going.
But that's a guy that you can get into.
Yeah.
Like that's a guy I can be. But then it's like, I know I'm kind of not that guy as well at the same time. But yeah, so there's like these states of, it's like a really flowing and changing state where like sometimes I'll have days where I have like anxiety, but it's only physical anxiety. There's no mental anxiety that goes with it. Like I don't know if you can relate to that, but it's like I'll feel it and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like super anxious, like my heart rate. It might be I've read an email. It might, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what I find from this? I could go off topic here, but I think I'm somewhat on topic.
Do it.
Your identity as a human.
Yeah.
This is a really, I love this topic because people that are trying to start their businesses or they work so hard their whole life to create these things, they're sportsmen, anything, you create your identity as a human as this task. For you doing the podcast, like, you don't want to let people down. You've created this identity for yourself. I am Gypsy Tales. Or like if I land, how I was talking about how winds haunt you. You define your person as you create your whole new identity as this wind now.
Yeah.
So you think in your head that you're this is how I think.
And it only comes from thoughts.
Yep. Correct. And for you doing like how you said you get anxiety when you see the email and everything, you've built up this big identity in your head of who you are and what you're doing. So you build this like this crazy pressure on yourself. It is somewhat end destination thinking, but it's how your subconscious mind gets when you start doing well for yourself, and you don't want to let down all your hard work, all your years of what you've done.
That's a story. As
your identity right there. So, but I really love this topic because I've seen people in their businesses go bad, and when they fold, it's the times, it's the way the world's going, and then they more or less are suicidal when their businesses aren't what they were at, how well they were doing. So they've recreated their identity as a human through the task they've worked so hard on their whole life, so many years. How could I let my peers, my friends, they've supported me. I've been brought up in a wealthy family, and now my business is falling apart, whether it was from COVID or whatever it might be. So now my whole identity as a human is being crushed. And they take it that they put that much weight on themselves, and they get that stranded. They literally get suicidal, and they want to like worse actions come, whether if they get depressed, whatever it might be. So for me, and I got this question flipped back on me. They're like, okay, well, then what's your identity? Like, if you got stripped your identity or whatever, like you'd probably feel a similar way. I'm like, well, I actually don't see myself as a professional dirt bike rider. I see myself as a human that gets to breathe fresh air every day.
Yeah.
And I get to live and I get to be around so much amazing energy and people. And that's what drives me. That's what I'm obsessed with. And then riding is cool. Like it is what I love doing and I'm good at it, but it's not my identity as a human. I still go skydiving, base jumping. I fall in love with understanding my thoughts as a human and how we talk and treat each other. To an extent, because I am still rude to some people because I have zero tolerance for certain behavior. and I do have a goal and a vision and what I want. And if people try and weigh that down on me or affect or whatever, I'm sad. Well, I'll let them know that. I'll be rude to their face, and I'm not nice to their face. But you could call me a reality of I'm just not fake.
Yeah.
So I might hurt, like I might be rude or whatever. But I believe I'm staying true to myself and the formula of what it is. If you want to try and look into me or past that, I have the biggest heart of gold you'll ever come into. So it's a funny line with blocking out people for so long. But anyways, back to the topic of really understanding your identity as a human and not misleading your identity with a job that you're doing, your task,
the partner that you have, the body that you have, the money that you have, the watch that you have.
Yeah, that's not your identity. It's your identity is a human that gets to breathe fresh air and go back to monk days, and that's all we are. The rest are bonuses.
So,
and going back to that, money's a see-through illusion. Like, to really control your happiness doesn't mean you can have shit morals. When I say money's a see-through illusion, or not pay your bills.
Yeah.
Be a man.
There is a real world that you live in.
But look past it and don't create your identity of something that might. But as you said, it's all thoughts and everything. So, but that's what success does, or when you work so many years on a business. So it's like there needs to be education on this stuff.
So how, like, think about this, right? So this was one of like the big, because we'll just lay out on the table. So if you listen to any kind of like Buddhist monks, like the Buddha, like any of those you say money is an illusion. Well, the ego is an illusion. Like the self, like even Harry, like the person, Harry is a word, right? Harry is everything is a story, right? There is the real world. Like you have a bill that you need to pay by a certain time in the real world. There's like real world consequences, right? So there's
how much pressure do you put on yourself when you see a bill that you haven't paid? You're like, if I don't pay that, I'm going to be a dead man. I do it to myself all the time.
So it's called like res extensa and res cognita. So res extensa is like the outside world, like what we'd call like the physical world. And then res cognita is like the inside world. So everybody goes through their life, and this is how the entire Western world works. This is not how a monk sees the world. So there's like people or the Buddha saw the world, right? So they saw through this internal, external world as an illusion, right? And so you start to, like, you think about a baby, right? A baby has no language. It's got no words. Like, what thoughts could a baby... Your thoughts are made up of words. Your thoughts are a story, right? So you think about a baby that's like 6 months old, and it's smiling and giggling and we kind of connect that baby's having some kind of thoughts and thinking about its experience, and that's what's making it happy, right? But how could that be possible? Because a baby doesn't have any words.
It's going off vibe, energy.
So literally, it's having an experience, right?
Yeah.
So you think about like that monster can. That monster can is not alive. That's just a thing that's like in the physical world. There's no experience there at all, right? And then you go to like a fucking prawn. Yeah. And it's alive and it's having an experience, but it doesn't know it's having an experience.
Yeah.
So like, what's that? That's its own little. So we're different to that. So we're different to the monster can because it's not alive at all, and then we're different to like the prawn or a oyster that's alive.
It's weird when you say that now, going from an oyster to a bug to a cat to a dog to a
person.
Yeah.
Right?
What levels are they actually taking?
So that's the thing that's fascinated me my entire life, and that's what.
Yeah, you really got me thinking.
So most people would have probably never thought of this in their life, and I've thought about this.
I've definitely thought of it in my life,
but I don't think a lot of people have deep enough and then connected it to like their own existence and then to like how they're living their life, right? Because there's like real important implications around this whole element of storytelling and thoughts and words and the impact that it then has on your life. going back to what you said about anxiety, depression, they're words. They are concepts that you then relate to your own identity, right? So you think about
People just flash those words in front of you like it's chocolate.
So think about a baby having that experience. That's just pure bliss, like the happiest baby that you could have. There's no words.
I love training dogs because they're just...
A dog's the same thing.
My dog he just doesn't have all the bullshit in it. Like statistically, the dumber you are, the happier you are, statistically.
Less thoughts.
Yeah, that's what it is, eh? Just less complicated.
Yeah, so
Makes
it's a less complicated story, right? So then you've got the fucking seashell or the oyster, and then you've got a person, right? So a person is alive and is having an experience in the same way that an oyster is. But we have like a really complicated understanding that we're having an experience. We have an ability to, I guess, like examine our own existence and our own experience in a way that other animals can't, right? And then we've got a way to create a language that can then describe everything that's going on in our life. We can create words and we can create concepts. Like, I can't have your experience. I can't live or like have your, I can't have your conscious experience, right? I can't do a triple flip. You can, but you can tell me about it. So you tell me this story about the triple flip, and you tell me this story about you as Harry and like as this person. We do that for ourselves. So we're a baby and then we're happy, but we don't have any words, right? So we can't really explain that I guess our experience that we're having. Or we're sad. We can't really explain it. We just shit our pants. We've got fucking shit flying down our legs. It's very uncomfortable. We got no words, so we just fucking cry, right? And then as you get older, you learn when you're laughing, you learn that's a laugh. So it's just without words, it's just this thing that feels like something. It feels something, but then you learn how to explain it. And then you can tell a person, I was laughing today, I was happy. Like and that it's these words that you're kind of
stuff things.
So then to fast forward through that kind of this building up of like just being alive and having this experience, we start to form these ideas about ourselves as thoughts and as words, and then we have like patterns of thinking. We do the same things every day, so then we think the same things every day. Descartes is like one of the most famous sayings in psychology is, I think, therefore I am. So you are what you think. You have this experience every day. You get up in the morning, you've got these habits of getting up and cycling and running your dog, and then you go to the same places and you see the same people. So it's like what we become is literally our thoughts. And then we think that there's this inside world of thoughts and it's me. So the me, the I, the ego is just this fucking bundle of thoughts. And you can go all the way back.
And it's, wow.
So you can go all the way back to the start of your life, right? You didn't choose to be born. You didn't choose your parents. You didn't choose the city you lived in. You didn't choose the friends that your parents had that then had kids that you hung around. You probably didn't choose the school that you went to. You didn't choose the other kids that were enrolled at that school. It might have bullied you. Yeah. So you've got all of these influences.
And half of it's just chemistry that just happens and you can't control the chemistries. And it's like when you have the rich dad, so the rich kid versus the poor kid, and then how the chemistries work. The poor kid ends up being happier in the long run than the rich kid, and just all those little chemicals. Sometimes the rich kid gets set up and he has a good enough work ethic where he fucking goes beyond and ends up being some.
It can always go two ways, though,
chemical,
right?
And you, no matter how hard and no matter how much of a good person you are, you can't control it.
No, and that's the secret, though, right? So you didn't pick where you were. You didn't really pick your friends. Like you just end up, but all of those things influence the thoughts that you have. And all of the thoughts that you have in your life, they end up being the story of your life and the story of who you are. You're always looking back like, oh, I'm a fat, lazy piece of shit. I'm a fucking stoner. All I do is smoke weed all day. I've never achieved anything in my life. I fucking hate myself. I'm the fucking man. I did this. So it's all, and we connect it to this I, but we don't ever really examined that I is just thoughts that have grouped together in one big long story that you've told yourself the entire life, right? So then I'll be sitting at, and the story for me was like, oh, I've never got anxiety. I don't believe in anxiety. That was just the story that I told myself, right?
Yeah.
But I'd never actually sat. So like I remember sitting down, and I was like, I felt like shit. I went home one day, and I'm pretty sure I've even told the story on here. I felt like shit, and I was like fucking, like my breathing was short. I was like so in my head. Like, you know when you forget to, I do this all the time. I'm thinking so much that I'll like walk out the front door, and I get down to my car, turn my car on, and I can't even remember if I've locked the front door.
Story of my life.
That's thoughts. You're just distracted by thoughts.
All these other bursts and overload of thoughts.
You're not in the moment. You're not present with like where
endlessly.
Yeah, and it happens to everyone endlessly. But people, we think we are our thoughts, and that's what you said. Like you understand all of this just in a different way. That's that 20 kilo block that's on your head.
But it's never
is by living
owned.
in that internal world of thoughts. That's the 20 kilos, right?
Yes.
So when you are in an ice bath and you surrender and you're just breathing, you're like locked into the moment. There's not thoughts, and that's why like this is one of the biggest messages I try and get to people that listen to this is like, the reason I love dirt bikes, and the reason you love dirt bikes, and the reason people love surfing, and the reason people love skating and all these other things is because there's no fucking thoughts. And if there are thoughts, it's only about how do I do my trick, cheering on my friend, giving my friend. You're so in the moment, and the thoughts that you have are reflective of the moment. But when you go right and you forget to lock your door and you get downstairs, the thoughts that you had in your head at the same time were disconnected from the actual moment that you're in, and that's where you start to go wrong. So for me now, like I'll be sitting at my desk and I feel like that anxiety when I catch it in this way is not connected to the story anymore. So I've got what you would call anxiety, because you have to give it a label for me to explain my experience to you.
Yeah.
But all it is a higher heart rate and shallow breathing.
It is.
And then I sit down and then I'm like,
Just a few nose breaths, it just flushes it.
and then you'll get your thought will go, you'll get another thought, and then you're just like, nah. Bro, minutes gone. It's the same with anger. Like I find it, I used to be a fucking hothead, bro, like crazy bad. Like I'd be like just so down to get into
just to yourself.
But even just in like road rage, I'd be so quick to, and I'd fucking be ready to get out and boss cunt, let's go. Now it takes me it takes me a lot more to get that angry, but then also it takes me like that quick to get unangry.
Yeah, that's good.
Because it's like I've been doing this thing for so long, and it's not even like it's meditation that fixes the problems. It's just understanding your relationship to the story and understanding what you said about money is an illusion. Like know what the illusions are. What's real is like the present moment. The thoughts that are coming into your head, they're not necessarily real. They're not in the external world. They're just in this internal world. You didn't choose them. They just got delivered to you. Like you sit and meditate, you would have no fucking idea what you're going to think about.
Yeah.
At all. And that's every thought. Every thought you ever have. You don't fucking know what's coming next. Like you're not responsible for it. And I think that's another thing that fucks with people is like I think fucked up thoughts all the time. And I used to think that I was like responsible.
The only person thinking like that, like, why do I think like this? Everyone thinks the same thoughts. It's how you process them and what you do with them.
And your relationship to them. Are you thinking they're coming from you?
Yeah.
And it's actually you.
Why
it's like
me?
this
Why
ego.
am I thinking like this?
Or have you taken the time to sit down for 10 minutes a day, just long enough to realize that you don't know what fucking thoughts coming next. It's not you. It's not yours.
Surrendering
it's
and not
just
trying to own the thoughts, accepting them, saying hello to them, and processing them properly.
Yeah, understanding your. Yeah, do it. And we're back. We've all pissed.
We're good.
Ronan's in here now because Griff's pussed out. He's timed out. So we've got young Ronnie in here now. How was I going to finish that thought?
Just about, I think you were just really covering on what you create things to build up being in your head, and they literally can more or less send you in depression if you can't be aware of control of all these ways they spiral your thoughts.
Yeah.
Who you hanging out with. And then the next thing is, I think social media dives you into depression now. So your subconscious mind is always veering you into unhappiness. Let's not say depression, unhappiness.
Yeah.
But it's because of all the stuff surrounded by it. So unless you're aware, you're gonna end up with some bad thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that the key thing, and this is at least the key thing for me anyway, so this might not be the key thing for everyone, but it's literally the doorknob, like it's the lock in the door. How connected are you to the present moment? How far away is the internal world away from the external world? And the things that we find, again, it's like when we're surfing, when we're at the track, or when you're partying with your mates. This is why partying's so fucking fun, because you're in the moment. You're with the boys. The combos the combos that you're having, you're fucking connected, man. You're
and
locked in.
You're not thinking about anything else, eh?
The thoughts that you're having.
Fuck, I never knew why I love partying so much until just this moment.
It's true.
You're present.
You're in the fucking
with the
moment,
boys,
bro.
talking about the highest. You're feeling the best you felt all week.
Their thoughts that they're having are connected to the same moment that you're in, and your thoughts that you're having are connected to the same moment that you're in. You're both there together, or the group of you boys are there together. You're doing a fucking rail together. Like it's the same, like it's the same moment. You're connected to that same moment. When you get unhappy, is when the thoughts, and I mean, there's actually, I shouldn't say that though. One of the ways you can be unhappy is by being very disconnected. So your thoughts are way over here and the present moment's here. The present moment, you should be locking the front door. But you're not. Your thoughts aren't with that. Your thoughts are somewhere complete. And I'm so guilty. That's my daily gut check of myself that reminds me of being in the moment and being present and have your thoughts that you're having be connected more to the moment, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a flip side of this though, because there's times where like I'm in the shower and I'm not in the shower at all. I'm like thinking about writing. I'm thinking about the work that I'm doing. I'm thinking about the calls. I'm a big visualization
it's like a
person.
Space.
I'm a big visualization person. I'm a big a lot of the things that I think about, they end up coming into reality. And that's how most people live their lives, like we do have some kind of manipulation over reality. We're little like universe builders to a sense, where like you're visualizing a triple flip. It happens. It's in reality. It's gone from the internal. Now it's in the external. I'm like, I'm going to get this person on the podcast. I'm going to make this video. I'm going to have this thumbnail. But that is exhausting as well. Like that doesn't necessarily lead to unhappiness. But if that's the only place that you live, then you do end up getting so disconnected from the moment, or years of your life can go by, without you really feeling kind of present, And so that's where
those thought patterns would nearly have a responsibility of when a year finishes and you go, man, that year went quick. And I think
because
that's what you're talking about,
dude,
that formula,
Man, I used to like
a month went by, I swear it was like a month a week.
And you've just been ruminating, like thinking about these things that you want to do and you want to achieve in the future, and time can just go by like that.
Or you can go on a holiday that drags out and you don't get to sleep in a very comfy bed, and then that 1 week feels like the longest week ever.
Yeah. Well, that's probably, there's a sense too, again, you're just like not connected to the moment, and you'd know this from doing ice baths. Is that
the 3 minutes feels like the longest 3 minutes ever.
But it doesn't if you surrender.
Yeah.
And that's what you said about like a 20-minute meditation feeling like a long time. Like to me, when I'm doing them right, bro, they're gone. Like it feels so good. Like I feel like it takes me. So I've kind of timed it out or worked it out. I think in my head that for me, like a morning meditation, if I do 10 minutes, I reckon it takes me about 6 minutes to get into the state of like gone, like just full on, like I'm spaced out, like there's no more time. And then on my app, it always says in the last minute of this session, and then that last minute you sort of come back to a little bit. So yeah, it's like about 6 minutes for me to just be like completely gone. And then those 3 minutes are about the dopest minutes of my day.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing really there, you know? And then so it's the same then. So like if I apply that to 20 minutes, if I hit that 7-minute mark, instead of the last 3 minutes, I'm just gone.
Yep.
It's now 13 minutes. But it feels the exact same. Because there's not really a time. There's not really like time's a weird one because it's so connected. This is like a fucking stoner thought, this one. But I feel like time is directly connected to the speed at which you can talk in your own mind.
Wow. I don't think that's a stoner thought at all. I said that when I was at the show, like how I said when the puppy dog, how they get excited.
Yeah.
So it's the speeds that your thoughts are at.
Yeah, yeah.
So I promised myself whether if I'd win or not, I'd keep the same speeds in my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wouldn't meet someone on the street, rush them or like anything. I'd keep the speeds the same.
Yeah,
and I think what you just said is having the speeds in your thoughts, and that defines how much time you have in your day.
Yeah, I completely
Everyone has
agree.
X amount of time in your day, but it's the way you process your thoughts is how much time you have in your day.
Yeah.
And then, you know how we said about being so scattered and I forgot to lock the front door and all this stuff? I got so frustrated with, like, I deal with business people.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, hey, we're having a meeting. Can we have a meeting at this time? Schedule it. So that's fine. You got to manage X amount of people. Now, if I've got a homie, like I'm good mates with, let's just say my tax accountant. Good mates with him, normal. And then his assistant still calls me to schedule a phone call with him when we're mates. I'm like, why don't you just fucking call me, dude?
Yeah, yeah.
And then he's just like, no. But then she will call me, scheduling an appointment, and then we have an appointment for the phone call and do it. But that's how their whole lives are structured. And I get so like, why can't you just do this, do that? But then their thoughts, then their days are so jumbled. Then their thoughts are going. Brrr. So then the patterns I've seen, the really high successful people, they plan their whole day out to the minute, and they have all these sections. And then I also heard a thing. The most successful people that manage their time really well treat hours like days. So every hour is a new day. So makers fully plan your hour and have these really productive hours, but everything's mapped out on a book and like everything's planned and so organized and scheduled. There's not a chance I could do that with my lifestyle because my whole life revolves around weather.
Some people
wind.
can't do that.
Yeah, but when we're talking about speeds and managing all this stuff, when I see how organized some really successful people are, makes sense. Not for me.
Yeah.
And then talking about the speeds and stuff, just for me to help myself be more at peace and understand what's going on around me. I think I think those speeds are the things that we're talking about, the thoughts to yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why I think when you meet a really successful person, they have nothing to prove, then they're the quietest person in the room.
Yeah. Oh, and I think that there's value. I'll send you this podcast by Naval. I've spoke about it a few times on here. Everyone should listen to it. This should be the podcast that you listen to after this, before you listen to your next Gypsy Tale. It's Naval, How to Get Rich. And it's not about money.
See, I would read that and go, fuck listening to that.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about it.
But so he did it's like it's just clickbait.
Yeah, okay.
But he talks about building wealth.
Yeah.
But it's not money wealth. He defines wealth as just like this overall state that you need to be in. And I think that I resonate with it now after I've kind of heard it. But yeah, he talks so much, I guess, about being like the calmest person in the room. Just all these like values that you should kind of aspire to have that would then just like, I guess if you checked all those boxes, like you're going to end up like a wealthy person in terms of like a wealth of friendships, like a wealth of knowledge. Like it's not in a monetary sense, but yeah, like being the calmest person in the room, because if you're the calmest person in the room, by proxy, you would have to have some form of like control or like distance over your thoughts, or some kind of like management into the speed that, you know, you were thinking. Because I think about that lunch with Julian the other day. Like, there was at no point did I have any check on myself to where I like calmed. It was like you just go, and that's where I was saying, like, it's what I would say is like my ego is where it's like I'm just me. I'm that character. I'm Jace, and like I'm fucking running, and like you're with me for an hour, and it's like, yeah, we'll have, you know, he tells me about his thing and his, but at no point was there any like ego check, like really to get into the moment, like take stock of like where I was. Like I essentially was just a ball of thoughts that then like put those thoughts out into the world and reacted to his thoughts, and there was just like it was like that game of tennis that I was saying, you know, and it was like, is that the best version of me? Well, at the time, yes. Like at the time I couldn't have been any better, but if I look back at it now, I'm just like, man, as I would have rathered have a couple of times through that lunch where I just took stock of the moment and just, you know, like was really present, and probably would have got like a better version or like a more ideal version of me like out into the world at that time. But I think the one thing to sort of finish my like little rant on like the meditation thing, people shouldn't go into meditation thinking that it is like a gym for your mind in one sense, but it's also not. I guess maybe the analogy still works, but it's like the meditation is just like this practice that you should do to essentially like, it builds this habit of like that thinking. So that thought that I didn't have when I was having that lunch, I was just like running on ego. Like essentially you want to just have a thought. You want to build a habit that would let the thought come of like, I'm not my ego. Like my ego is an illusion. Like you would want to, that check. That's the check that you want to kind of have, because it's not like you meditate. I think people think they meditate and they do like, let's say you do 10 minutes in the morning, and then it has like, it's like pre-workout, and then it lasts for a while, or it's like drinking a Monster, and it lasts for a while, and then you've got to do it again to keep it going. Meditation isn't like a drug that you take and then it has a half-life and then it gets out of your system, and then you've got to do it again and then it stays in your system, and that's why you got to string together all these days, because you got to stay meditation high. That's not how meditation works. It's just a practice to give yourself the thought and to have this concept in your mind, like, I am not my ego. What I am, I'm the baby that doesn't know the word. Like, I am just, all I actually have is just the natural awareness of, you're aware, you're having an experience. All you are is an experience. And where it gets fucked up is that you're an experience that knows you're having an experience. So you need to and the knowing that you're having the experience is what gives you the thoughts, and you analyze yourself, and you analyze, is this chick I still do that, man. It's like, oh, is this chick the chick that's gonna is she a good wife? Would she be? And it's just taking you out of the moment when like you literally can be like laying on a couch with someone that like loves you, and you're overthinking that situation to convince yourself that that's not a good thing. And it's like, but you only want the best for yourself. You mean well. Yeah, but it takes you out of the moment. Correct. And then when when you're not in control of your thoughts, then it's like you're not then in control of like the outcome of like, what are you going to fucking think about that person? Like you sort of don't know. But yeah, it's like you just do these sessions every day. It doesn't matter what the fuck you think about in those sessions. There's no result. Surrender to that moment and try and have the insight that, oh, I'm not my ego. The big thing that you're digging for when you're meditating, if you do like 10 minutes a day, you're just watching your thoughts. All you need to realize, you need to have the epiphany, oh, I don't control these fucking things. They come from nowhere, and they come and then they go. You can't hold on to it. Sound is a good one, right? So you hear like a little squeak in a chair. It comes into your awareness and then it goes, and you can't hang on to it. It's gone. And hanging on to it is just a thought, and then that thought goes, and then it'll be replaced by a new one. You're not the author of any of these things. Like, what you are is you're just the baby having the experience, and then it's also got the capabilities to do all of this other stuff. And it's like when you want to practice it enough over years and years. And for me, like, listening to like the theory side of it, there's this chick that does these sessions. She's a monk. She's actually down in New South Wales, but she reads these texts of like old Dharma masters, like Buddha kind of disciple people that write books about awakening and like how your mind works. And all. So she reads these things, and it's got like this nice kind of meditation music. And all I'm trying to do is just like have this insight of like, she's right. And then it's like, they'll just sit with me and I'll think those thoughts. Sometimes in the shower, I'll think about a thought will come and it's like kind of random, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's right. Like, I'm not my thoughts. It's just this random thing. It comes in, it comes out. You can't hold on to any of it. You can't choose it. You can't unhear something. You can't stop something from...
Stop trying to control them all and observe the thoughts.
And understand that they're there, they're gone. And then a thought, then a series of thoughts is like a paragraph, and that paragraph creates a mood. And then that mood is...
Wow, you are teaching. I need to get my notebook out right now. This is good.
But that's what a mood is.
Yeah.
A mood is a group, like one bad thought.
And then you got to know like how you're feeling from having too much caffeine or whatever it might be, and being aware and not drowning yourself in that one bad mood that rolled through.
And then knowing that, so you got a thought, and a thought can be kind of like random and take you off guard. And you're like, that's fucking weird. But then a thought that goes on for 5 minutes is a story. And then that story could be about how rad you are. It could be about how much you hate your chick. It could be about how much you hate yourself. It could be about how much you hate your job. And then that paragraph, that little story, that then creates a mood. And then now you think about the mood. And then you've got a whole bunch of thoughts around this like negative mood. And then those thoughts can then just prolong that mood. Or those thoughts could then go, you don't need to think like this, bro. You could do what you do, and you could like flip those thoughts. But it's just... understanding.
You're out of the hole like that, or you just keep drowning in it, or whinge to someone, and then they whinge about
and then they snap, or they snap you out of it. But then
it goes two ways.
So that in the same way
that's where negative families just keep fucking drowning in their own negativity.
Yeah, it's just a story that just keeps going.
Couples or whatever it might be.
It's like a feedback loop. So in the same way that a sound comes in, and you hear it, and then it's gone, then the thought comes, it's the same thing. It comes and then it goes. And then your mood, it comes and then it goes. It might last a minute. It might last, dude, you know the biggest fucking test, like when I had all that drama with that parking guy at the fucking, I wanted to kill that guy at the house, bro. I was dead set, like when he was in my face, I was like, I just want to fucking murder this guy, because I literally could. And and I stayed angry about that. And it was like, that was one of my first like real big tests of this whole deal for me. I just kept fucking thinking. I was washing my bike. I rode MX Farm like a week later, and then I had like the body corporate hit me up, right? And then he was like, you were real aggressive with him, and you were real this. Like, he was scared that you were going to fucking do something to him. And I was like, I was. But like, then that created a mood. And then I stewed on that mood. And I'm washing my bike. I just rode MX Farm. I had the sickest time. And then this incident happened a month ago. And I got back there and I was just as angry then as I was when it fucking happened. So then that was like this, again, it was like a trigger. I was like, all right, I know what this is. I know it's this feeling. I know I couldn't like, you can't get rid of it. You don't have that choice. But I just like, oh, just sit with it. It's going to come and it's going to go. So I think that, you know, for anyone out, I guess the reason why I've kind of gone on this fucking hour rant almost is just to tell people like that's the goal. You're not going to sit down and meditate and it's going to fix your life in that session. And then when your life stops being fixed by it, then you do it again and then your life gets fixed some more. And then you do it again and then it's not this thing you have to keep doing. It's an insight that you have to have about,
really
about how your mind works. And then the reason why you keep doing it is so it just gets ingrained into your brain that when, like, I've had it happen so much. This intersection down here is like the worst intersection in the world. People lose their lose their fucking mind there. You know how many times I get upset about anything that happens there? A grand total of 0.
Yeah.
You know, someone cuts me off.
We can only get angry so many times.
Yeah, but that's like it's a good little trigger for me, you know, to be like, oh, yep, we're good. We don't have to be angry about this. It triggers my thought of like what's really going on in my brain, and then what's really going on in their brain.
Yeah,
when
that's
someone
really
gets,
understanding someone else's journey before you get angry at them.
Yep, and you just sit there and think, and this is where like the biggest element of Buddhism is compassion. So that's what you'll hear is love and kindness and compassion.
Yep.
Is because this thinking that happens where you're like disconnected from the moment, that is what the Buddhists call like dukkha or suffering, right? And so even people, they'll say like, they take it to the extreme that like any thinking is suffering essentially, because like if you want something bad, you're like suffering until you get it. And then you realize once you've got it, then you realize that it's gone, and now you've got to fill it with like a new. So
when I get this, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah. So basically, once you're sitting on this side of the fence, like let's say you have this insight and you're not connected to your ego anymore, and you know that it's an illusion in that sense, and you can like live in that state. Yes, you're still going to get connected to thoughts. You're still going to have bad mood, but if you can live on this side of the fence where you know how your mind actually works, then everybody that you meet in your life that isn't having that same level of insight, you have to be compassionate towards them and the suffering that they're having as a result of not having this insight, not knowing the way that their mind works, not understanding their feelings, and the fact that they're probably connected to their emotions or their ego 100% of the time. And so that's where this gives you this life and this like way of thinking and this understanding it, that gives you 2 benefits. It gives you benefits for yourself and the way that you can then treat yourself, and then it gives you benefits for the way that you can treat other people and the compassion that you can have for other people, and the understanding that the things that they're doing are coming from the level at which they're connected to their own thoughts and disconnected from the moment.
Yeah, wow, for sure. Yeah, I think yeah, everyone has the same thoughts. It's like pretty much how you just described it. It's just how you deal with them. Life's also like unlocking levels.
Yeah.
Some people are on level 4, some people are on level 50. Or like, so it's really understanding people's journeys. Yeah. And then with another level comes another devil.
Yeah.
Because there's devils fucking, they're always on those levels. But you have to process, there's always like good with bad. Yeah, but wow, I love the detail you just described that to. I took so much out of that. That's crazy.
Well, dude, that's been probably the last like 5 years of my life. Just
wow, and all the words that you use with the Buddhist stuff, and like there was, I thought a lot of it, but you just made it sound a lot clearer.
Yeah, well,
I don't have anything to say. I'm still like kind of like, I'm putting into my chair after that. But it's just so much clarification on
yeah, you're fully thinking all this, like everything that you're saying, like you're really there. It's just I've probably just done a lot more like research in a sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think just the most important thing is every single person on this planet has the same thoughts.
Yep.
They just deal with them differently, and then there's a different outcome.
Yeah.
Versus a bum versus a rich person. Or let's not say rich person. A person that's just not happy with their life.
And a person that is.
Yes.
And
that could be a rich person and a rich person, or a poor person and a poor person.
100%.
So I really fucked up with that.
No, it's an easy one to go to.
You get what I'm saying.
But yeah, I think, and to be honest too, you know, like there's people that go through life, like you said, the dumber the person, the fucking happier they are. Like, it's kind of true to an extent, like, because I mean, I think so much, like obviously, but that is a real form of unhappiness. And like what you said about another level, another devil, that's so fucking true, bro. Because there was like 3 months, I reckon, or 4 months where I went through like a period of like almost depression. Yeah. In a sense, because when you like free will is kind of like a whole nother conversation of like, you know, do we have like free will in the way like, but all that is saying is like, oh, I'm responsible for my thoughts. I think this, I'm the one that, so it's like, it's basically like believing that you have an ego essentially. But when you like really drill down into that whole conversation around free will, you start to think, well, like, oh, so nothing that I do matters. Like everything's written. My story's already written. Like I didn't choose where I was born and blah, blah, blah. And you go through all the thoughts that I have are just a result of the thoughts that I had before and the people and the interactions. And you kind of can get to like I got to like a pretty dark place in a sense of like, oh, it's fucking pointless. I'm on the ride and try and fucking enjoy it for all it's good and all it's bad, you know? So there's definitely
just view it rather than try and control it.
Yeah, and there's like...
observe it, do the best you can and just observe. Everything has energies as well and look at the energies as like floating water or whatever and observe rather than try and control every situation. I think like being a powerful person or whatever, like I used to think that you have to, I'm not saying that I am that, but I used to think that I had to control every situation to get to that. Yeah. But it was actually the opposite. It was surrendering and to getting way more out of life and listening and reading what's going on around you.
Yeah, and I think that, and like maybe I could articulate some of these things and explain some of these things a little bit better, but it's one of the reasons I've actually always admired you as a person is because without maybe fully understanding all of the things that I understand in the word sense, you can live. Like, and that's why I think that when I look at you pulling back on a triple flip, or when I look at you doing ice bars every single day, so that is you living the words that I just said. So my challenge in my journey and in my life is to not just know these things.
Yeah, put it into practice.
And put them into practice.
So easy to say all these things, but putting into practice, I probably don't put half the stuff that I say into practice. Try my best, do my best, but might not do it. But also do a lot of it.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think you do. And it's one of the reasons I've always looked up to you. So you've always been a guy that has you live the things that you say and you do. I'm sure you don't want to get in that ice bath every day. And I'm sure it's fucking cold. And I could see the demons that you were battling to do the triple flip and to pull back on that and to in that moment, you know. So it's like you do live these things and you really do surrender to the moment. I think it's a pretty fucking dope thing that you do.
Cheers, bros. Appreciate it, man.
So what are some of the things that you want to, not like what's next, but as for on a 1% level, not on a career level, not on anything level. So on a 1% level, how do you see yourself getting better as a person in the next 12 months?
Keep just staying on top of my good habits, having fun, keep growing all the relationships around me. Action sports is at a funny time. I just want to adapt, and honestly, I don't fully have, as far as me being a better person, I'm just going to keep doing everything that I do on a day-to-day basis anyway. Nothing's changed for me from doing the triple to before and now and after. I would love to be more busy on my dirt bike, doing lots more events. Like I have my mini flip thing that I do just to try and just pop up at more events and just do stuff. Because going into a freestyle show, you have to have all the permits to get into wherever you are, and then as soon as you're dealing with OH&S, like the safety stuff in Australia, it's torture. Lots of money for permits, insurance, lots of loopholes around it. I should have it for my mini flip, but anyways. But I love the idea of popping up anywhere and just having a private event, like private rope area. And anyways, but just keep staying active and growing with all the people around me. I'd love to do some more, like I want to tap into one big off stunt, like one off big stunts. Do some gnarly stuff like that. Kind of pretty tight with Robbie Madison. We've had a few good conversations about some things, like Jacko and that. Those boys are legends. But more or less just keep being the best version of myself and then being ready for when a really good opportunity comes next. I don't know what's next, but I'm going to be ready when it comes.
And so have you got any like physical goals, like you're going to keep doing the movement method stuff?
Yeah, I had a good chat with Harry Turnbull actually this morning. He just told me because he just tore his pec off his shoulder. Off his chest, off his shoulder.
I think your pec does connect to your shoulder.
Yeah.
You're right. Fuck, you're smart.
But yeah, I'm gonna kind of keep a fitness channel, and I want to really actually focus on getting my body really good. Because I've kind of just done dabbles of all different exercises, what I feel like doing. I'm gonna set a full fitness plan like X amount of strength sessions during the week, 1 Bikram yoga a week. I've been doing that for the last 3 years.
Yeah, you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, 1 Bikram, and then I'm going to just focus on decompressing my joints, things like that. But I keep wanting to growing my body, like, so then I can be ready to do cool stuff on the moto. I want to do lots more base jumping. Now all the moto stuff's done, I'm going to really start tapping into the base jumping more. Because then that could lead into a really cool moto base stunt. That's on the to-do list for sure. Moto base. Can't wait to do one of them one day when I say I'm ready, just when I can pack my own parachute. I still can't pack my own base rig. I haven't jumped on. I've packed them, but I haven't jumped on my own pack job base jump. Skydiving, different story. I've done over 200 jumps on my own pack job on skydiving. But yeah, just keep having fun. Just keep cherishing all the relationships and all the people I have in my life. And I don't know the answer, and I wish I could tell you the answer. I wish I could say, hey, there's Nitro Circus is booked out with shows all next year, and I could go back to touring, keep winding up the tricks, and keep growing as a rider. I'm obviously going to still do that at my compound. But I just would love to have a stage to really work towards, because then you have a place to perform and deliver, and it makes you train twice, 3, 4 times harder, because you can dedicate all your time, because there's a funding for it and it all funds itself. Not saying that my wise money, there's only so much, like, you still need to just keep producing
there's still
your own lifestyle kind of thing. But I'm gonna keep my mouth shut and listen more.
I reckon that's a good place to be. Well, mate, I enjoyed it. We did another one. Fucking nearly 4 hours, boy.
Dude.
Oh, 3 and a bit. How long?
3.5.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Legend, dude.
No.
They always go for that. I don't think we've done a podcast that's went under 3 hours.
Nah, we probably won't either. Nah, it's been cool. I'm glad we waited a while to do one
Third
too.
podcast, Triple Flip happened, and we got the jersey over there, mate. Stoked.
Put that on there. We'll have to figure it out. We'll put this up somewhere.
Have I given you a jersey?
Nah, never. I don't ask for jerseys
what
ever.
A dog. Hey.
I literally have one. I just have Berriman's one.
Oh,
all the ones that I've got.
I'm proud to be going up next to Berriman.
I know.
I got to get a frame for that thing. I'm just claiming that my jersey's going in your office.
I need like a better spot to put them all.
Hey mate, I was hoping you could put my jersey
Just
here,
right there.
just so it's just for all the films.
Done. Right, until 4 quad flip.
Yes, sir.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.